Yo, 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 yo. Mic test, mic test. Cucumber. How's my audio sounding, dude? I think I saw you were playing some Stalker, so no problem if you are doing that. I'm just gonna go ahead and switch on over here. There we go. Let me get some music just going in the background, actually. Good. All right, that's good to hear. I was gonna show, because I know you haven't seen it, so I'm looking forward to you potentially seeing it if you have time. The Path of Exile 2 endgame content reveal. It's a pretty juicy one. Not gonna lie, especially if you are a Diablo 2 enjoyer. I think you're in for quite a treat, actually. It's looking to be pretty good. But yeah, how you doing today, my guy? Just getting some of my videos queued up here. Nice. No Man's Sky is a just keeps pumping out content and it's kind of amazing. It's kind of awesome. I feel like you could play that for like many hundreds of hours. Is he up right now or is he on a sleep right now? Okay, nice. Yeah, I think a lot of it's the randomization and the encountering stuff. Because I know even like with Path of Exile 2, like randomly generated levels, right, are like a big part of it. It's still like with it has a limit, of course, though, right? But I guess when it is kind of infinitely scaling that way, there should be a point at which you can only get so far before the difficulty gets harder. But in something like that, where I don't know if the difficulty necessarily gets farther the farther you go out. Is that how it works? I know there's like more hazardous like systems that you can go to, but and I haven't played too much of it. Let me check how much I've played actually. No Man's Sky. Almost 40 hours, which isn't too much, I guess. Huh? Your PS5 is normally pretty busy. Good news is, Sean too with PoE2, we're talking cross progression too, cross play, cross progression. Can have Steph on it, Steph, Nico on the PS5, you on the PC, everyone blasting. It's gonna wait for Chris. Is this? Oh, Camellia. Hold on. Oh, this doesn't get a. Normally stuff's like super like hardcore. All right, just gonna send an invite out there. So, have you seen anything at all there, Cucumber, when it comes to PoE2 stuff, or at least recently? There's been a lot happening in the last 8 days, basically. Yeah, that's fair. Lots has happened since then. Yeah, so about it being the Diablo killer. I think in terms of ambition for it, it's kind of what they're aiming for. I know when when Granny Gear Games really set out for PoE, they wanted to make a sequel to Diablo basically, and they thought they could do a better job than what Diablo 3 did. And I think now that they had the money, especially because a lot of their budget over the last basically 5 years, I think that they've really started laying into PoE2 was like art, and that's just so they can have like animation and like environments and everything get up to that AAA polish. Because I think PoE1 gets pretty jank pretty quick. Because how much time do you have in PoE? Did you end up? I don't think you ever made it to the end game in there, did you? Welcome, welcome, everyone else. I think we're gonna have Chris joining here too. 29 hours? That's pretty good. Yeah, no, but if you don't make it to, they say normally when you hit maps, aka endgame, that's when they get your soul, basically. Yeah, and I think that's one of the tricky parts. Why did you end up quitting? Do you find what was one of the reasons you would stop? I guess to say. All right, well, let's see, board. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think like a consistent progression is pretty important too, right? Like getting a consistent like state of character power too. All right, I'll go ahead and get the music going on stop there. All right, so I have a few things, but I want to start with the endgame content reveal because my understanding is both of you guys have never actually seen like anything new on this. This came out 8 days ago. It actually came. It aired right after the season 7 reveal for Diablo 4, and it was kind of a snooze fest. So it's so funny to see the dichotomy between both companies when it comes to that. I'm just gonna try and find my video capture source. Sometimes it puts me behind, so I'm gonna put myself up and video capture up and video capture up. There we go. Okay, so without further ado, I'll just get the trailer starting. Can you guys hear it okay? I'm not seeing any audio actually. For you guys, one sec. Were you hearing any audio there? Okay, let's
Hear the whispers! Call for help!
Okay, looks like we can see it now.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance.
How's volume, guys?
And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help! Do not attack!
That's right.
When you hear the whispers, what do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah?
Then Dorman. Shut your damn mouth. Ugh, why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Sullen!
A mean cleave, eh, Captain?
There's you, Shorty.
Rookie can't even lift his own
Cucumber.
foot. Captain Oren? Captain? It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back will be blade up!
Come on, come on! I'm ready! I'm ready! It's a man!
No, it's not. Run.
Captain! Captain!
Stop! Humanity isn't ready. On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
What is it?
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
A story. Facing that. What a way to open, hey?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early
guy's an
access in
OG.
around 2 weeks on December the 6th.
December
Even though
6th.
it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Existence is a thing of beauty. Precious, but impermanent.
Yeah, so Jonathan there, yeah, they started in a garage.
Enemies, and yet bound
He
to one
does.
another. The continuation of life must be protected.
This
at
is
all
pretty
costs.
non-stop too, this announcement.
Some have said my methods are brutal. To this, I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice.
I think you guys are gonna have a class idea figured out at the end of this.
We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must.
That's the new end game right there.
Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with it.
What do you guys think so far? They're bringing their A game. Because we didn't hear for a long time, and then they ended up having to delay for 3 weeks. It was supposed to be November 15th, actually, that early access was supposed to launch. But there was some server issues because they're making it so everything in that you've purchased in PoE 1 transfers to PoE 2. Like all your stashes, all your MTX. So if you've spent like they've had many big expensive packs over the years, so it's I think it's kind of a pretty Giga Chad move that they're transferring that all over. Yes, Smite didn't do the same. That's too bad. But a lot of companies don't, right? Because that's kind of just how they do things. What's super awesome, though, I think about... yeah, that skill tree is awesome. Let's see it. I'll quickly back up a little bit there and just show you guys a little bit more. Because, Chris, do you have much time in PoE. Yeah, it's December 6th now. So I'm just trying to find the, 1 second, let me turn this down. There it is. Yeah, it's even bigger. This, I think it's 1,500 nodes now on this tree. Still not a lot known about it, but we're starting to see a few more leaks of stuff that's coming out for it. Yeah, I can be working on it. It is co-op up to 6 people, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, they had to delay because they were trying to get everything figured out. Like, they were transferring databases over so that you can cross-play. Again, you can cross-play between PS5, Xbox, S and X, PC, and all that stuff. There's also a standalone client if you don't play on Steam, but yeah, everyone can play together, which is really awesome. And cross-play all your MTX transfer between like Xbox and PC and stuff. The only exception being PS5 actually. And Sean, I know you. Oh, you have no time. Okay, that's fair. Did both you guys play D4 as well? Yeah, no, you might as well just wait for this because you'll see actually that the. I'll let it keep playing. You'll see that the onboarding is a lot better now.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the end game. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20 years, Rayclast has been free from...
So beta progress saving, you'll have, it'll be transferred to its own realm. Basically your character, think of it as like an early access character, and you'll always have that character, but it'll be separate from like the full launch characters. And that's just so you don't have someone coming in with like a bunch of money into like a freshly reset like full economy. Yes, you'll have it. And it's good to, they decided that because it's like they didn't really see a reason to delete it, and it's kind of like a memento of, you know, of your characters. It's like keeping a little trophy of a character, right? Like that you had. You can expect quite a few, like things will change quite a bit in early access. It's going to be at least 6 months, probably closer to the end of 2025 when it comes out. Yeah, I'll keep it going.
Any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. Yeah. The dead are rising.
This is going to be a free game, by the way, too.
And madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question.
Yeah, instead of just having them drop. So this is quite the intro screen. You're basically picking the
Under the dark
which character doesn't die is the character you
sentences of death to any who would question.
You pick.
And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham, traverse the barren plains of the Vesteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have
there are challenging monsters,
like 100 plus distinct
ruins,
environments,
lost camps and treasures,
700 plus items,
and of course, unique bosses.
And you'll see a lot of Diablo 2 influence, actually.
Of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations.
I was noticing that before. I'm just backing up for a sec here. It'll let me. Just this corpse here in relation to your size. I thought that was interesting. Someone pointed that out before.
But first, you'll need to pick a class.
All right, classes. What kind of classes are you guys thinking?
Now, early access will initially have 6
if not,
classes
you'll have
available.
an idea by the end of this.
Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE2.
So they went with a Diablo 2 influence here when it came to the like the tiering of different skills. I don't know if they show too much over this in this video, but they have, when you hover over a skill, not only can you see it, but they'll actually have like a little video and a little narration that plays too. So it's a lot easier if you're like a new person coming in and you only have like a few options. There's also an all gems button though, right here. So because you can literally pick from all the different like skills too, right off the bat. There's going to be quarterstaff skills, elemental, occult, mace, crossbow, bow. So basically there's 6 of these correspond to classes, and there's going to be 6 classes at the start of early access, and there's going to be another 6 coming during it with 3 ascendancies each. So there's basically 36 classes, which is pretty bonkers, and you'll actually see 12 of those coming up here too. Yeah, and they're going for a really wide variety of biomes. And you'll see that in the end game coming up too, Chris.
Gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7. So there's no harm in trying out something new.
Yeah, so you don't level gems up too in this version. Like if you'll find uncut gems, and then if you find, let's say you have like a level 2 skill and you find a level 7 one, you can upgrade an existing skill to level 7 with that gem, or you can like pick a new level 7 skill. So then you're not just having to level all your gems, which I know Sean, you would have had be used to leveling those gems, and Chris, you've never had to do that before. It's a better system though. One other thing I'll point out that they'll mention, but look how many flasks there are. There's only 2 now. 1 healing and 1 mana flask. You can probably modify this with ascendancies and stuff in the future, but then those charms that you'll see too that they'll do different things.
The monk primarily uses the quarterstaff.
More of the monk.
There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice.
Another animation guys, like lead animation guy,
you have to stick to just one.
Is like a martial artist.
Are going to involve mixing elements of all 3. Let's try killing palm. Like
So I
many
think
monk
like
skills, this can be used to quickly take
the
advantage
fluidity of the monk
specific
is going to be
situation.
pretty sick.
If there's an enemy on low life, you can use killing palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we can use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will add elemental damage to the strikes. The monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down.
Yeah, I
After
agree
that,
with
any
you.
attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower,
All right,
but hits
here comes
much
some of the
harder,
chunky hits.
Warrior is for you. He pounds the ground.
Yeah, and pretty distinct too, because there's going to be, I think, at least 4 melee classes: Druid, Warrior, who you're going to see now, Monk, Duelist, Shadow, and Huntress. No, there's basically 6. I mean, anyone can use like melee skills if they want to, and weapons. Yeah, I think you're right. So, yeah, Chris just mentioning there, if I played Hades, like that they had many character classes. Yeah, a lot of the different weapons that you pick in Hades have like big different playstyle changes, right? Like, and that's basically what a lot of these classes do. And I've watched they have quite a few interviews recently that the directors of PoE, and it really talks a lot about like stereotypes, how people are really attracted to stereotypes as classes when they play games, like just to start in them. but the ascendancies really like make them stronger and more defined that way. And you'll see some coming up here, what I mean.
With big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor.
I'll ask you guys
Even
what you
though
want
the
to play
mace slams are
after we've
slow,
seen them all.
You never
too.
lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time.
Dodge rolling, animation canceling attacks is very cool. One of the things that they wanted to do that they weren't able to do in PoE1 was have visceral action combat. And that's one of the reasons they actually ended up making PoE2, because when they tried to, PoE2 is supposed to be just a huge patch for PoE1, but then they realized that they were changing the systems too fundamentally, that they needed to, literally, they're like, you know, we need to like make this separate because we're going to be alienating our player base if we do that. But it was supposed to do stuff like make melee feel a lot better. It was supposed to bring in new character rigs, because they had to like make seven different versions of things because there's 7 classes in PoE1. But now they have like one model that they can just do a lot more efficiently with between the 12 new classes. So like there's a lot of reasons why they do it. But one of the things was they wanted to make combat something that you cared more about, because it kind of just becomes like a joke later on. And you can invite, and you certainly get super strong, and you can like where you in PoE1 you'd have like 1 button builds or like no button builds, but they wanted to try and slow it down and make it a bit more Souls-like too, especially with the bosses, and you'll see some of those bosses coming up too.
Among the skill option for maces, you will find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries,
It's also
and
active
shield
block.
skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire.
Lots of
Any slam
synergies here
skill
too.
will then
Watch
cause
all these
fishes to
synergies.
erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage. The warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In PoE2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even spells. While
can see
holding
a
up your
little,
shield, your
stagger
stun
bar
meter will
here.
build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming, make sure to dodge out of the way. Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities, like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the earthquake. But you can also get ancestral warrior totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my ancestral warrior totem.
Also, the HUD is 3D, so it actually reacts to light. You'll see like light impacting the globe, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a little nice artistic touch. All the menus too, and like the details and stuff are like gorgeous too. Lots of attention to detail to that. Yeah, totem. They were actually changed a lot in PoE1 recently, because you basically needed to play where you always had totems down because they gave you buffs. So in order to play how people tended to try and play more optimally, they had to put like that. You had to like curse enemies, put down totems, and then start like hitting, because they gave you like either like raw attack power bonuses or like attack speed bonuses. So they changed it where they don't do that anymore. But yeah, I'm assuming that totems, we'll see how they redid them with PoE2, but that meta skill one was kind of interesting.
You'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
So yeah, you can put a slam into this guy and then he will just slam for you, which is pretty cool.
There are 20 active skills for maces, so there's a lot more to try out. But by endgame, you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly into combat, and separating the very earth you stand on. Time for some ranged attacks. The ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In PoE2, you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the Ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat.
So one of the reasons they delayed this game for over a year was to integrate WASD movement, especially on things like the range classes. You can do it for melee too, but WASD was a huge reason that the game was delayed, because it ended up making the game better to put it in, so they had to delay. Because they didn't want to release it early if they found something that would have made the game better, basically. So, and with the Ranger 2, they're going for like a Legolas theme for all you Lord of the Rings lovers.
Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants. With 21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the Ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation. By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or
Sounds like it's for you then, Cucumber.
spraying out of tornadoes. You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full. But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip a thawing charm. When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The Mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility.
Here's one for the Call of Duty lovers out there. This next class.
All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. With a crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers. But not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them loaded, which makes the Mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating effect. Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to Fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage. If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a backseat and let your minions do the work, then the Witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her, while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies.
What do you guys think of the Mercenary? They very much embrace the shooter idea for the Mercenary. It's kind of a bit more like Van Helsing style, but they're just like, you know what? We got 12 classes to do, so let's make this a little different. But it's also a good way to make crossbows feel a bit distinct from bows. Yeah, small shoulder pet because it's hard to see all those bolts flying. Yeah, it's I'm sure there'll be some interesting MTX. They sell a lot of MTX in PoE. I don't know why D4 doesn't sell MTX. I think their marketing team's a little clueless, honestly, with D4. But we won't get into that right now. Here's the Witch.
Cult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeleton.
Yeah, and again, it's really good for WSD. Again, it's gonna play well on controller. They're gonna have hop swappable. So if you want to play with controller, and then in town, if you're doing inventory management, you can switch to keyboard and mouse too, which is pretty cool. They're giving it a lot more love than PoE1 with controller. But yeah, basically. Witch is like always a necromancer from a base type in terms of minion summoning, but she can branch into other stuff too, like chaos, bone magic, and like blood magic stuff.
Noxious
You'll
spells,
see.
specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic.
Frames are tanking
Before
a
we
bit
talk
hard
about
there.
minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell.
Yeah, it does.
For
Different
the Witch,
playstyle,
though,
right?
We'll want to be using our Spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time.
That's so awesome. So yeah, minions resummon when they die. You don't have to resummon them all the time. It's I think it starts at 4 seconds after. At least that's how they do in PoE1. If you like literally ascend into it for like your golems in PoE1, then they would revive after for like 4 seconds. After the last minion dies, then it's 4 seconds of whatever type it is. So spirit, though, I think it has like it's right here. But normally in PoE1, you would have to reserve mana for a lot of reservation effects. And one of the ways they got around it is to have just a new resource called Spirit for it too. And that's how they do their minion summoning, but also auras. Because yeah, Chris, you didn't play PoE1, but with auras, you might, if you have like a really strong aura, it'll reserve like 50% of your mana. So then you're really trying to figure out how to like get enough mana regen when you're reserving a bunch of your mana, and then you're trying to find nodes that give you more mana reservation efficiency, so that you can support all your skills and actually sustain like your mana. So yeah, I like the spirit system a lot better actually, and it's supposed to be better. That's why they're doing
Here,
it.
I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one.
Yeah, you can pick all the
Skeletal
minion
warriors are cheap but weak.
composition you
Useful
want.
for tanking damage and distracting enemies. But I want more heavy hitters in my army, so I'm going to unsummon some warriors and instead add skeletal arsonists. Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you know, you could curse them to make them weaker so your horde can take them down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path. The sorcerer...
All monsters can be turned into specters too, by the way. All I don't know how many monsters. I think there's like 600 or 700, at least in the base game. I think there's 400 in early access launch, different types of monsters. They can all be bound into specters and used in your minion army too. And they retain their abilities. So it's pretty cracked. You can have multiple bind specter gems too. It's kind of like Pokemon, but kind of way more badass.
bends the elements to her will, using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic from afar.
Sorceress
The elemental
stocks
skills
have been going up
everything you might
recently.
expect and more.
They've been showing some cool
Fireballs,
stuff
icy
for her to make her
explosions,
actually
lightning
pretty
storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many
pretty
different
strong.
ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through it, they'll gain extra fire damage. It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills and another with bonuses to lightning skills can
This is
really
new to
power up a
PoE2.
combo like this. The Sorceress can also take advantage of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner.
This stuff's
When
good
it's
for you
full,
too,
a
Sean,
Firestorm
to
will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited.
automate some stuff maybe you don't want to
There are
do.
25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be
Yeah.
firing off projectiles left and right as you rain
It
down
does to me
elemental
too,
storms on your
sure.
foes. Now, those are the characters that will be available at the start of early access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and options as these. There's a lot more to come. There's one more important thing to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long as you have the attributes. For example, a poison ranger might want to try out using occult curses to increase her poison damage, or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade.
This is supposed to be pretty strong.
The possibilities for
ice
cross-class
stuff.
combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet. So let's talk about support gems.
And you can think about too, if you have one of your buddies laying down like gas clouds and you're detonating them and you guys are synergizing together, or like your druids putting down volcanoes and then you're like slamming around them and it's causing more stuff to spew out, because the druid and the huntress were a lot of the skills were revealed already, including a mount too. You can have mounts in on some classes, but they weren't quite ready for the early access launch. But we'll probably see it in like the next bigger update for it in like 2 to 3 months. I love it. And yeah, we'll see ascendancies coming up here too, Chris. We'll see some even
Path of
juicier
Exile 2
power
is a system of
with them.
support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a
Good night.
variety of recommended support gems for each
Good
of
night,
your
Chris.
skills
Thanks
that
for
you
checking
can
it
pick
out.
between. For example, this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally, when you fire a grenade, it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills on your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high-velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment. Note that you can only have one of each support gem on your character, so you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage. Now, if you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time. But if you want to experiment a bit more, then uncheck that recommended button and you can see the full list of supports that will work with your skill. There are hundreds of support gems to choose from, and even we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it, and if you're clever, you can come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now, all of this is just scratching the surface. You can
Fish
make
on.
frost vortexes,
Everything can be a 6th link in this. Everything.
break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat, make enemies set each other on fire, cull enemies, or pin them to the ground. Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be scared. There are lots of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Each level you get 1 point to put into the tree.
Hey, Amelia.
Each class starts at a different location, but they all share the same tree. Around your section of the tree, you'll find relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
Yeah, being able to gold respec is a big new feature too, Sean.
Now, the tree is generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt. And here's one that gives grenades
I
a
think
chance
it's
to blow
flat.
up a second time.
I think it goes up in price a little bit
This
as
one
you
gives a
get
chance
higher in
for
level.
projectiles to rebound off terrain, as
But
well
it's
as giving you
manageable.
some pierce chance to make that more likely.
They
Note
just
that
tried
even
it
though
in
this is in the
PoE 1 as
mercenary
well.
section,
In the last
this
league,
would
they
work
put
with
gold in
projectiles
for it,
from
and it
all
was good. It
classes.
felt good.
So there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree. In order to get between these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute highways.
And these highways
Attribute
make it
nodes
easier
allow you to pick
to
which attribute you would like to use. So
figure
it's
out
very
your-
easy to get points for any attribute
your
that
attributes a
your gear
bit
might
better
need.
too.
You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor. In addition to notables, you will also find even larger passives called keystones.
Yeah, that is a big
Keystones
thing.
have both
It
an
was one of the
upside
things
and
that
a downside.
we didn't
Often
do so
require
well.
changing your entire
I
build
think.
to design around them. A great example is Giant's Blood, which
Check
allows
this one
you
out.
to wield two-hand weapons in a single hand, but doubles the attribute requirements of them. You can use a two-hand mace with a
like
shield,
Titan's
or
Grip
even
from
dual
WoW.
wield them. Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool first before your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding.
Some of these are really strong
As
too.
we showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills. One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your
Have you
passive
seen
tree
this
change
feature
as you
yet?
switch between weapon sets to
Cucumber?
take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree. For the Sorceress, you might want to change between fire and lightning specialization.
Look at this.
Or you could switch between one hand and a two-hand setup in order to be able to block boss attacks while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace. Or perhaps you could have a full curse setup on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage. If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like, but creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system. You can get weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book. There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign too.
Let's just take a quick stop on this page to see. It looks a lot better. You can see like all the bosses around here too, like optional bosses. Is that how many there are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 10. It looks like here. This is Act 1. And you'll see too with the acts. Act 1 is like Dark Woods. Act 2 is like Sand. Act 3 is like Jungle. It's very Diablo like esque. It's awesome. What's this? It's like a loot over here. What's that about? Haven't seen that. Anvil.
too. On the map, you can see icons that
I was hoping we'd see a Bard Ascendancy. We haven't seen one yet, but yeah, weapon ascendancies, being able to weapon specializations skills, being able to swap, like, so if you hit your curse, you'll swap to your other weapon instantly, and like your tree will change to it instantly, and you'll be able to like spec into like maybe like a bit of curse stuff, and then your main damaging skills are spec to like your main spec, that sort of thing. It just increases the amount of variety that you have to do.
indicate the many optional encounters you can find. Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items. If you're having trouble getting past a boss, it might be a good idea to explore and see what you can find.
Yeah, and you play D4, right? Right, Sean? Because I think playing a class the way you like it, like more ways to play it. Because PoE1 is very much like a toolbox for classes, right? It's like it's a class sandbox basically, and that's what's so cool about it, I think. But it's also kind of scary, right? It's kind of hard. Like you need a build guide basically for it, and you can't just, even build guide creators, like, it's a lot of work to do that, and to have something that is well vetted is kind of time consuming. But when you can experiment and just have fun with it and enjoy it, and all of us coming in to the early access launch without knowing what a meta is a really beautiful thing, and it's a really rare thing. Even D4 that recently with the Vessel of Hatred, they gave the expansion, I think 2 weeks early or so, to content creators, so that they could make guides before it came out. so that people had guides, and that I think really eroded a bit of the fun and the magic of that, which I didn't agree with. But at the same time, content creators like have to say yes, or else they miss out on all the revenue that comes with that when it's really popular around there. So this is also, these optional bosses, Sean, are way nicer than Altars of Lilith. That's for sure.
For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance. One of the most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1.
You fight King of the Mists in a PoE 1-2. They ported that boss fight over, but he's going to be tougher in this one, I think.
Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit.
I'm wondering how
Permanent
totems
buffs
are going to
you gain
be,
from spirit
like you
are very
mentioned.
powerful, and every class will find a use for them, so make sure you hunt down these upgrades. There's one in each act. Now, we haven't even talked about the most important element of character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity
Art is
groups:
so nice too in
normal,
this.
magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods. One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available
No
to
Decker
use as
Kane
you
is in
play.
like mass
All the items that
identify.
add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile
If it's
1,
mass identify,
so
you're
you can
talking
use them
about
throughout your campaign playthrough.
you have
We
it
want
in
you to
this
find
one.
things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much
The
more
hooded
frequently.
one will
As well as making the drop rates on these items much more common,
He'll,
you can also get them by disenchanting
identify all your
unwanted
stuff.
gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs.
Another thing that they changed was, you know how there's vendor recipes. They're no, I don't know if I don't think there's a gold cost associated with it, with the hooded one identifying stuff. You get him pretty quickly in Act 1 too, you know, because he's in the cinematic. Actually, he's the guy who that they were kind of hunting there. You think he's a bad guy, but he's probably a good guy. I'm assuming. I don't know. We're thinking so. People thinking it might be Sin too, because he has the glowing blue eyes. Sin from PoE 1. But I guess we'll see. We find out in the middle of Act 2, actually. I don't know yet, though. What else did I want to tell you there? Yeah, you can identify. And I forgot what I was going to tell you besides that.
Disenchanting unwanted.
Oh, vendor recipes. So a lot of the vendor recipes that are kind of hidden and you might not know about, they're trying to add like a vendor for that certain thing. So if you wanted to, like in this case, you are the disenchanter lets you like, you can either sell for gold or you can sell for materials. But another vendor might let you like trade some stuff in and get a new thing. I'm guessing we'll see what it actually ends up looking like for that. But they said they wanted to have vendors that will actually do something versus you needing to have like a specialized knowledge of something.
Gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting
And this is
items
new
in
here
PoE2
too, coming up.
is sockets.
Sockets.
Some items you find will have sockets
With
that can have Bessamite
runes.
runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed items that you don't have a use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an Artificer's Orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and two-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and one-hand...
Yeah, they made a lot of smart changes. They got rid of the crafting bench too, because I felt like the crafting bench was something that, like, if you're a good player, you know how to use it and when to use it, like very quickly early on to help yourself fill up all your like the gaps in your build and like resistances. But I think a lot of new players wouldn't really use it very much that way, and it ended up becoming something that like was really strong if you were using it properly, and if you weren't, which a lot of new players weren't, then it was kind of tricky. So they ended up settling with having sockets in gear so that you can actually you can try and close up some of the gaps there that you have too. I know D4 uses this this a little bit more too, except you pretty much just want to put life into everything on D4, unless it's rings and amulet.
Hand weapons can only have one socket.
Until they changed it
You can
recently,
also
where it wasn't as
salvage
good.
items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost.
This is another example of like vendor recipe being put into like a salvage bench to make whetstones and all that stuff for improving weapons versus having to know the vendor recipe. Because if you have no idea that the vendor recipe exists because you weren't on like a wiki page, then you just wouldn't know, right? So it's better.
If you don't want to disenchant or salvage your items, you can always sell them for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful. Every time you level up, they get more stock, so make sure to check back often. Other vendors offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of gold and you'll get a random item of a specific type.
This is really good too. I think this is something that I think is probably going to be important for you to remember, actually. Gambling, because I've seen a few playthroughs where like someone's found something like a really good item early and it's made like a really smooth run, and then other people maybe have struggled. Like Darth Microtransaction, for example, was showing his playthrough the other day in Act 2 and he was struggling a lot. And I think using gear, using like gambling to try and fill up some of your gear that's maybe a bit old and needing to be improved is a good way to make your experience better. So normally, it looked like you were able to buy like at least 3 items pretty early with how they have gold right now, but they're pretty open to feedback too. This is the kind of stuff to be keeping track of. I'll ask you to see what it's like, assuming you're playing. If not, I will buy you a key.
This could be a great way to improve your gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used.
See right here. Identify items on the hooded one. I don't think it costs money. Let's see if they mention it. I don't think it does though.
To respec your passive skills. Take
I think it's just
advantage of
to
the system
respec.
to experiment with your tree and rework it as required. The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open
This is awesome too.
market, in exchange for a small gold fee. Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character, except gold.
Currency exchange
Now, most
market
gear in
is
Path of
beautiful.
Exile 2 is randomly
Then you don't have to go to the
generated, but
trade
there's another
site.
type that isn't. Uniques. They are especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed. Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use.
With the currency exchange market, you can buy and sell stuff for a gold fee, like particular currency. So if you want to, like for exchanging currencies, so you want to like change your chaoses for like a divine or something like that, then you can see what like the market price is and basically try and buy for a gold fee and do it that way versus having to go to the trade site and then messaging like 50 people who don't respond to you. It'll just do it instantly. But one of the ways they get around like botting a bit more and RMT is to have gold is something that you can only get from playing the game. So you can't just be standing in town trading. You still can, just not with the currency exchange because the trade site still exists. So
At endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match. The last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension. Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your
All right, students, pay attention. This is some of the good stuff.
Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of Early Access, only 2 per class will be available. Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can...
Yeah, so you get 2 for each of the 6 classes, so we're starting with 12, and then 6 more classes coming throughout Early Access. Probably Druid and Huntress in the next 2 to 3 months, probably. And then there's going to be 1 more Ascendancy for each of these, because there's going to be 3 total for each class. So
drastically affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Storm Weaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage, and going deeper into
What
the
up,
tree, you
Amelia?
can make all your damage types apply Shock.
Amelia, are
Make
you a
Shock builds
PoE
with
player?
any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze.
That's a pretty cool skill. How do you get there? So is it further down? 1, 2. Okay, so yes, you'd have to ascend twice to get to this one, I'm guessing.
Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns.
Are you a Weaver,
and cast all her
Weaver
spells
fan,
again.
Sean?
On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With Jade...
Yeah, basically the Chronomancer lets you like snap back to like, I think it's 4 seconds to where you were, back to your I don't know if it's just skills or like health and mana, but it's more. Smite has that too with Chronos. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's annoying. That'd be badass as hell when you're freezing time and like resetting your cooldowns and stuff as a Chronomancer in this too. With this Ascendancy they're showing there, they accidentally filmed they didn't get a good clip of this monkey. Like, look at this monkey that spawns from this totem and he just runs into a wall. Watch this. It's kind of fun.
Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again. On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call,
We're trying to figure out what this monkey does.
Linked to each of your
We don't know yet. He just runs away.
With Jade Heritage,
It's
you can
kinda
encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries. Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock. With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to deal 40% more damage.
This guy's pretty popular too. His art, actually, in the first media kit was named the Earthshaker. So people were wondering if there was going to be like an Earthshaker ascendancy, but yeah, they call it the Titan. We know that we have leaked some stuff. I think all the nodes are out now for this guy. This one is just a flat 20% more health. There is a doubles your the effect of armor on your body armor. There is a 20. You get plus 20 slots of inventory space because you strap a chest to yourself. And then there's I don't remember the last one right now.
As a ranger, you might choose to be a Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down foes with style. With endless munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack. But be careful, she loses them when getting hit.
Bit of a familiar face here.
With Eagle
With the
Eyes, she
Deadeye.
will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive
Not having an
hits on
accuracy penalty is probably pretty good.
damage. Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder.
I played a lot of
the master
Pathfinder in
flasks
PoE
and
1
poison.
too.
She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage. Contagious Contamination allows her to spread poisons between her foes,
Pretty
while
poison heavy.
overwhelming toxicity doubles the number of stacks they can be infected by.
Lots of like poison
Running Assault
proliferation.
allows her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies.
A lot of these nodes we don't know about
Witch can
still
ascend
too.
into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. As an Infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit. With Pyromantic Pact, you can turn your mana into Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies. She can also transform into a literal demon.
And she can transform into a
While in
demon.
demon form, she takes an increasing amount of damage, but her
'Cause
cast
why
speed
not?
and damage increase rapidly as well. So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery. She can also become a blood mage, a master of life and energy. All blood mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana, but in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life.
So with this class, everyone has to start with this node, Sanguimancy. So yeah, it makes skills cost base life and base mana. But what picking this, they don't mention it, they mention in an interview afterwards, but what this does is allows you to overcap your health twice what your maximum is, basically. So you can have double your health through overcapping with this Sanguimancy skill.
With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life
And then
back
lots
as
of
well.
life leech through spell
Once you've got a
damage.
significant amount of life,
And a
you
lot
can
of
use
crit
Gore
bonus
Spike
here with
to make your
Horseplay.
critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an invoker.
Here's your monk,
With
here's your
elemental
avatar.
expression, the invoker will create waves of elemental power each time he does a critical strike. With faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between I am the blizzard or I am the thunder to specialize in cold or lightning. And I shall rage.
They say, I am the blizzard now. Look at me. Look at me, Blizzard.
Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar. Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain unbound
People were a bit worried too that it was going to be too slow in the end game because they like to go fast.
fury. When you have enough, transform into an
But this
avatar
combat gets
to deal
pretty quick.
way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness,
Chaos
a
Monk.
resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach Demons. There you will see the Flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage. The Mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a Witch Hunter.
Witch hunter? Which hunter are they talking about?
Obsessive Rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death, the chances doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage, if you're lucky.
Look at that chunk. That was one hit. Oh, do you notice this up here too? It's true. Oh, it's so bad. That's all I think about. It's literally like a curse, and it's terrifying. It's exhausting. But I gotta get them out. Every 1 in 100. I'm trying to get my ratio better. Yeah, it shows there's damage numbers now. They're more in the Elden Ring style, I believe. Dark Souls. So you can get a little bit more like of an objective metric of how much damage you're doing on bosses. But also it's helpful for seeing if maybe something is maybe a bit bugged and isn't giving you the damage that it should be.
This is great for hunting powerful bosses. And with Witchbane, you can break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do.
I don't know which Bane they're talking about here, but this skill, this lets you take fewer enemy abilities. Like they'll use it less often. Their abilities less often. This one's really yo, what's up, Amelia? Are you a PoE player?
You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh.
We're checking out some endgame content reveal for Path of Exile. Have you seen it before? Have you seen this, Amelia, or do you play Path of Exile? This is a pretty crazy class too. Check this one out.
Integrated Efficiency will give you extra skill slots.
You get 3 more.
Dermatological Infusion gives you extra maximum resistances as you sock up more and more support gems.
These are pretty valuable stats.
Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while Crystalline Potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character. So those are the Ascendancy classes.
And look at that art too, just like stabbing gems into his body. So the Vow, one of the cultures in this game, I think experimented with putting gems in themselves, and this class actually does that, which is kind of interesting from a lore perspective. Yeah, PoE is super awesome, Amelia. Super awesome. It's gonna be free to play too, so not really one reason not to. What kind of games do you play, Amelia, usually? Do you have any interest in ARPGs like this, or like Diablo?
This is for the start of early access. But one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major
looking good for
cultures
you,
of Rayclast.
Cucumber, in terms of...
Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture
like Ascension
of rich
classes.
tales and brutal traditions.
Anything
who must
tickle
do
your
whatever
fancy?
it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Maraketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength,
Witch and
will,
Titan.
cunning,
Nice.
and patience.
I was
To
thinking
enter,
a warrior as
the
well.
of the Maraketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different. Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed on the relic altar to begin the trial.
Dang. It's gonna be a really good Amelia. Holy.
In the trial of the
Are you
Sekimas,
interested in
each
the
room has
early
its own
access?
challenges to overcome. In this
Or are
room,
you looking
each
for it
rare
to be
monster you
fully
kill will
released, do
send
you
its
think,
blood to
Amelia?
the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed. While fighting monsters in the trial, you will need to be very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters
Nice.
are well telegraphed, so that you can avoid their attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make
There's
sure
a lot
that
of
you're
horror
well
elements in
prepared
this
before
game,
challenging
actually,
the
Amelia.
trial of the
It might be one of your
Sekimas.
new favorite games.
After each room, you will be rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial.
Yeah, very D2.
Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed.
So I don't think you played this, Cucumber, but this mechanic was from PoE 1 in terms of a new Ascension class. And yeah, Amelia, you upgrade your class via Ascension trials, and in the Path of Exile 1, it's like you might have seen it, but it's like a labyrinth, and you get to the end of it, there's traps. a bunch of rooms, and you eventually fight the boss and beat it. But they made more of like a roguelike game mode called the Forbidden Sanctum, and they ended up putting it in PoE2 and like revamping it and making that the new way to ascend. It's one of the new ascension trials, but you actually get to pick. There's another one coming up, because you don't have to do this. If this doesn't look fun to you, then there's another one you can do, and there's going to be another one after that.
Which challenges would you like to face?
I'm not streaming every day, Amelia, just because I have
some rooms are more dangerous,
a toddler,
afflicting you with debuffs that will persist.
And I try and help my
trial.
wife sometimes
For
with
example,
that. So
entering this room will
Outlast
afflict you with
is super
spiked
cool.
shell that will cause all monsters in the rest
Outlast.
of the trial to have 50% increased life. You will want to take care if you choose such a path. There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial. Deadly traps, waves of monsters, and strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the Jinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the second
Outlast trials look pretty good.
If you die,
I like the first
giving you a
Outlast
second
too.
shot at a run.
I like the story of the second. It was super
One
messed
of the
up.
rewards you may find is sacred water, an extremely valuable and treasured
I don't
resource
play many
to the
horror
Jinn
games, but I
and
like
Marrakech.
watching them too.
Trading it with the Jinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions.
Nice, that'd be cool.
At the end of the floor, you'll find a powerful boss which will truly test your limitations. In order to ascend, you will need to defeat him.
Oh, and the bosses in this game are so cool. They one of the directors who made a lot of the bosses for Path of Exile 1 is make designs like all the bosses for Path of Exile 2, and it's his favorite thing to do. Like this boss, when he slams the ground, like rocks fall from the ceiling, and then you see the like the light coming in from where the rocks fell from, and it's just like it's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous game.
Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot. The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests. If you want to open the better ones,
a
you'll
little
need silver
itty-bitty
or
one.
gold keys. Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your first ascension will
Yeah, I was
allow
thinking
you
of
to
doing
pick
more,
your class and grant you 2 points to use in the tree. Now there are more floors
Streaming
and
with
many more
different
rewards that
adaptive
can be
gaming
found within the
equipment,
trial of
Amelia,
the
because I
seconds.
help people with
But we'll save that for the
disabilities,
section
and
on
I
the
want to
end
help
game.
people with
For now,
disabilities
let's
play
talk about the
games.
second ascendancy trial,
So I have
the
things
Trial
like
of Chaos.
eye
In Path of Exile 2,
head
you can
tracking,
choose whichever trial you
mind
like to earn
control,
your ascension. Each
eye
culture
tracking,
on Rayclast had their own
like
methods
facial
to ascend.
gesture tracking stuff
If the
to
trial
play
of the
games,
Sycamores is not
just
your
to
kind of
build a bit of
playstyle,
awareness of
or you're
it
finding
and
too difficult, you could try another. You can gain
get
all
some
your
experience
ascension
actually
points with
using
just
it so I can
one,
help
or
people
mix and match them. It's
use
up to
it.
you.
But I
For
do
early
plan on
access,
streaming
we'll
more.
have 2 trials as
Do you
options,
stream
with
too?
a third trial coming later for the full release. While exploring the Vaal jungle, you'll discover the Temple of Chaos.
Here's the
Before
second
Vaal
ascension
embraced the science
thing.
of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the
I don't
Vaal
think
to
you ever
test their
got.
high priests.
Did you ever do the ultimatum
A high priest
mechanic,
of the Vaal must show
Cucumber?
willingness to risk everything to gain power.
I'm
Entry
going
to
to
the
assume
trial
that you
requires
didn't
a
do the
token from a
ultimatum
strange
mechanic.
entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he
This
shall
is more an
inscribe an
endgame.
ultimatum.
You see him in
Many have attempted
little
these
bit
trials in search of greatness.
in the,
Most have perished. Will you be able to defy the odds?
campaign.
Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial.
Okay,
These
yeah, heist.
modifiers might beef up the
We
monsters,
haven't seen
curse the
any
player,
any signs of
or add
heist yet
environmental hazards
in
like
PoE2.
turrets or trap runes.
They had a lot of
In
good
this case,
characters in
we'll
that
be
though,
picking
so I
shocking
wouldn't be surprised if
turrets.
we saw them return.
As
So
you
you're
enter
kind
the
of
room,
building
the
your
Trial
traps
Master
here
will fill it with hazards to test your commitment. In this case, you
with
must
this.
destroy all the monsters that fill the room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the shocking turrets.
Yeah, no, that's fair, Amelia. Often work comes first, and streaming's just a hobby. But if you enjoy it, then you try it.
After each room, you will need to make a choice. Take the rewards you have earned so far, or go double or nothing. Increase your rewards, but take on more risk. Each tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly
Nice.
stack on top of each other and can become overwhelming. There are many types of chambers in the trial. Each will test your resolve in different ways. This one simply requires you survive for a certain amount of time. Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you. Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss. The order of the bosses is random, and combined with the tribulations you have selected, the fight will never feel the same. After defeating the boss, you may claim your rewards. Of course there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. If you already did the Trial of the Secondments, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class. Now it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to endgame. So how about we talk...
Yes, Cucumber, yes it does. It literally does. Tomb Lords everywhere. Hold on. I made a picture actually. Let me show you. Let's see if you can see this. In Act 2, there's a the act fight. He cleaves something in half, and I put Tomb Lord over that because Tomb Lord is everywhere in D4. You fight him so many times. And then there's of course the Executioner in Act 1 that you fight. But the Executioner is PoE2 in this case. And of course our trolley sponsorship. On one of the more recent Diablo campfires, they brought in a trolley as a sponsor. And of course there's the double down. Which, hey, well no, this isn't a double down actually. Yeah, no, like this is such an amazing example of that. Emil, you know what? I would be interested. Actually, I have someone named her name is Tiny. I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, she kind of has dibs, but you guys can compete for if when I get custom emotes one day. That would be something too that I would love your help with one day, whenever that is. I have a dog, Nyx. She's not here yet. I put a chair for her for when she comes. She'll probably pay us a visit, but I would love to have emotes of Nyx for stuff. I think kind of use some of the dog riz there.
Talk about that now.
I do like double downs, but
So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the end game
Check
is
this
where
out,
the game
dude.
truly begins. Something that happens
See how
almost
you feel
every
about this
time a new
next part,
action RPG launches is people saying, there isn't enough in-game content. Well, we want to make sure that in PoE2, people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE2 already take around 25 hours to complete if you're a new player. This is already a pretty significant campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great. For new players, a 25-hour campaign is already a huge game with lots of content.
maybe by the end,
But for
Amelia.
existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the in-game challenges to overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making in-game content. At the start of early access, there'll be 50 bosses and around 400 monster types. But the great thing is that the rest of the game is like 80% there. We'll be adding content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now,
Dodging
in order to
lava.
make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we
I don't
added the
have
rest
one
of
yet,
the
Sean.
acts, we've added
I was
a
thinking
second
about though. I'd
difficulty
like to
level
have
called
builds
Crawl,
on there.
where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases. That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins.
Yeah, it's exactly that basically. Because if you heard there, it's a bit of a reveal, I guess, that with the D4s launch, I guess. Like, yeah, I guess just the whole launch of D4, people were a little bit, and with Vessel of Hatred, I think too. They were just noticing that ARPGs don't release with enough endgame, and people get really upset with that. I think the launch of D4 was the biggest point of that, where there really wasn't a lot to do. So they're like, you know what? People care less about the campaign. We already have 3 acts that are going to be about 25 hours for a brand new player to finish. And then you just repeat it a few more times to get to level 65 and then start the end game, versus like skipping you there in some way. Because part of the point of early access is to like test the progression system, right? And test the systems. Figure out a lot of the bugs that you just can't get with unless you have a lot of big data and a lot of like big player numbers, especially with the economy stuff. So of course Amelia, the game is going to be free on launch, which is super awesome, and it's probably going to be your favorite game of all time.
Once we add the remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing cruel difficulty, so you'll progress straight from the end of Act 6 to endgame. But what is the endgame?
Good
To
question.
explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Hi,
Mark?
I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2.
Just a fun fact, Mark Roberts started in QA, quality assurance, like, I don't know if it was 2013 or so, really early on in PoE1's career. And now he's the game director there. And he does all their bosses. He knows the ins and out of this. And he's just become like, he's really like become part of Grinding Gear Games. And he's learned a lot from Chris Wilson is another huge figurehead who used to do a lot of the videos and was a lot of the face of GGG for a long time, and they've really transitioned to these people. And that's exactly what we're looking for, right, Cucumber? The Oblivion NPCs. Because you know the real nerdy mofos, and they are. And he's actually he would often be in the top too as well, like I think like top 100 or like top 10 or something like that. Yeah, they do. I think they're really they're a really awesome company. And Bex, one of the former community manager too, she was like really one of the she was so awesome because she just teased the hell out of the community all the time.
Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own.
I want this hoodie too, by the way. You can get it.
Areas,
I think it's like
bosses, rewards,
in the $240
and player power that can only be gained from that
pack.
content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2, we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through. This
Yeah, or just finishing up their marketing degree and making all like the timeline decisions or something like that.
is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions.
So look at this
Now, we
video.
are not going to spoil the plot
So
too
this
much
is an
here,
infinite
but
map,
corruption from
too.
the beast has blighted the
But-
land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas, you will
It's
find
different.
the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Val research the fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the
next big test is going to be how good is entering endgame as a new player. With all the changes that they've done to welcome new players and the onboarding, I feel like they would have to have an okay system. The end game is the least amount. It's the least tested stuff, so it's probably going to need the most tweaks, honestly. But I'm hoping that this is easy enough for the surge of new players too that's happening.
waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the
speed.
campaign, and we have
This
dialed
is
the
Flicker Strike,
randomization
though.
up to
This
11.
move.
The monster packs you will face in
Jumping
each
around.
map are totally random, and the combination of them can lead to some very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious
Boom.
challenges.
Little
In
smash
order
that
to
he's
cleanse
doing.
the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it. Once you have done that, the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts.
Any classes looking
These
good to
are
you,
ancient,
Amelia?
corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them.
Are you like
The
a
monsters that feed
spellcaster
off
or
the corruption are
a
drawn
melee
to their
person?
power.
Or a
if
ranger?
you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are
You're gonna see there's a big delay from the moment you click on this box to the moment monsters spawn, and that was actually a filming error. They changed it like right after, but they weren't able to refilm it. But you'll see it takes a while for monsters to respawn and to spawn, but it shouldn't happen that way. It should be like basically instant.
There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the contents. But be careful of opening one you can't handle.
Welcome, Gorb.
Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous
Well, Gorb, they have they're starting with 6 classes here in PoE2, but Druid has actually been revealed already, and it's probably coming in about 2 or 3 months. But they were showing a lot of like the bear form. There's going to be 3 forms for the Druid. I think they need a bit more work with like the synergies between the forms. They showed there's werebear, and then werewolf. I think they showed a werewolf form, but it looked a little dated, the model, when they showed it like a long time ago at the 2019 ExileCon. So and we don't know what the 3rd form is actually yet, but melee Druid should be pretty sick in PoE2 as well.
dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade.
I wanted to
normal
start
items
either
magic
Druid or
items with
Huntress.
guaranteed mod
Huntress
from
is
a
like a
category.
spear user. She's like Amazon in D2.
For example, we could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod.
So this mechanic, essences, lets you helps
Thirdly,
you
essences will also
deterministically
drop that allow you
craft.
to upgrade magics to rares,
a
adding
little
the
bit more.
guaranteed mod.
So like he was able to put movement speed on boots.
This is incredibly powerful since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies that are
I think so,
commonly found
Gorb.
in Rayclast for modifying items.
There's definitely more
and we can
beginner-friendly
get a
builds,
very
and I'm
nice
hoping
pair
to
of
do
boots
some,
indeed.
or at least compile some too, that have fewer
Waystones,
fewer
like all
inputs.
items, can also be crafted
like
using
fewer hot
your
buttons.
currency items.
But yeah, there
Adding prefix
definitely
mods
are.
will improve the rewards, while suffix mods increase danger.
Because there's at least in Path of Exile 1, like there's builds that are good league starters that like you don't need a lot of gear for, and then there's some builds that you need certain gear for. So if you're playing solo self-found, sometimes you can't, because you can't always ensure that you're going to get the items that you need. There are some ways to do that, but there are some builds that it's like you need a bunch of equipment first, or like a specific unique that only drops from like an Uber boss or something in order to do that. But it would be hard to have someone do that. Those are usually more difficult builds. Or there's ones like Chaos Inoculation, which sets your life to 0. I mean, it sets your life to 1, but it makes you immune to chaos damage. So then you rely on energy shield. And there's a few ways that you can change defenses and mechanics, but you should probably be a more advanced player, or at least have a guide or a bit of an understanding of that. It'll be a bit easier that way. But that's the thing. It's because this is like a sandbox for classes. That's kind of how Path of Exile has always been. You can make it more advanced if you want to or not. Low life Druid build in D4. Yeah, there's low life like nodes on the tree for that, which is really good in D4 or in PoE as well. Good to know. I didn't actually play any low life stuff in D4. I have a Guitar Hero controller that I was trying to play D4 with, and I will one day, but I want to do a shred build with it, because then I can shred my guitar while I'm shredding, because I think it's kind of funny. But hopefully Shred is buffed in season 7. I don't know. Did you see any buffs for that in the patch notes for that?
The more dangerous a map is,
We're just in the end game right now too for Path of Exile too. You missed some of the other stuff. The cool stuff like the class related stuff is really cool. And the ascendancies. There's basically starting with 12 classes, and then throughout this early access, which will be like 6 months to a year, they'll basically be like 36 classes in this game, which is crazy. Okay, for 2 seasons, yeah. Since so you played season 4 then, which was really good. The item rework. I mean, yes, they did have to fundamentally like, you know, do all their redo all their fundamental systems in the game, and yes, it's basically D4 had early access for a year at least, right?
the more
But it's better
waystones
now.
will drop.
Shred
Adding
NATO
mods to your
build, cool.
waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take
So
on
maps,
larger challenges.
you can make your
There
end
are
game
a
map
variety
stronger,
of
like your
factors
nightmare
you have to
dungeons.
consider
Basically,
when
you can
crafting
make
your
them more
waystones.
challenging.
Some maps will have higher
for more
density,
rewards.
some lower, some have more magic
But you
and
progress
rare
up them in
chests,
tiers
more
that way too.
monsters, Some are more linear and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want.
There's also 400 monster types starting in the end game here, so there's a lot of variety, and they're all random. They changed rare mobs a little bit from PoE 1. Before all the modifiers, you might get unlucky and get some combinations that were really hard or really challenging, but they changed rare mobs in PoE 2 to have a little bit more of a curated way to do that, so that you're going to encounter something that you can actually kill, for example, that like for whatever reason would be like resistant to your damage type, and but also like have like crazy defense but do crazy damage. So they're trying to curate it a bit more, so you still have challenging fun encounters, but they're not gonna like be unkillable or like one shot you or something a lot, or they'll do that at least a lot less. We'll see with EA though. Gorb, are you starting with EA launch? Do you plan on playing like in December 6th, or are you waiting for the full launch of the game?
To maximize your returns.
Which it'll be free then.
As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree. This tree allows you to...
This is something that I do wish D4 had. I think it would be really cool if, like literally Nightmare Dungeons, I wish they were able to... Oh, nice, from Barricade? That's awesome. That's sick, dude. The cost, yeah, it's really nice. It's 30. Amelia, you still here? It's $30, Amelia, to play. if you're getting into it. But I honestly wish Nightmare Dungeons had something like this where you could make them tougher, beyond just increasing their tier, but being able to like spec into what you see in those with like the corrupted chests you find, being able to like specialize into those more to encounter them more and make them more rewarding. This is why like this tree, I guarantee you, is going to get bigger. In PoE 1, it's quite a big endgame Atlas skill tree, which is separate from your other skill tree. But all the mechanics in PoE 2 have their own separate trees that you can get points in by killing the pinnacle bosses in. And if it's something that you enjoy doing, then it just makes it more rewarding to do. And that lets you progress in that more, or it might change it in a way that's cool, and you'll see why later.
Reduce the danger and rewards of all areas in the endgame. You could increase the number of monsters, the number of rares, the number of precursor artifacts or strongboxes, even the quantity of item drops. As you explore the endgame world map, you'll notice various different biomes, from snow-capped mountains to dense jungle
Gorb, you
valleys.
said you mentioned yourself
Most
a
maps are
caster. Some of the
restricted to
casters are
certain
looking pretty good
biomes.
too.
As you continue to explore deeper
could.
into the
Yeah, you have about a
Atlas,
week.
there are all sorts of things to discover. These cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique
Yeah,
maps
it's up to you.
like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island
There'll be some
full of
similar
beasts
things, but
that give an extreme
also quite a
amount
bit
of
different.
experience. You may even find
least with,
a
like,
lonely
the
man
skill
just
tree stuff.
enjoying his retirement
Or
who
not
will
the
give
skill
you a
tree, like the
unique
skill
item
gem
for free.
stuff.
In addition, you can
That's
find
like the
special
biggest
areas
learning
that will
curve.
make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit, and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own personal base of operations.
Yeah, and because classes aren't necessarily locked into weapon types too, then you can actually play something like one of the ranger, like the pathfinder who throws flasks, for example. Like you'd be able to use different weapons on those classes too if you really want it, or you can just avoid entirely. That's fine too.
A great tool for exploration are
Yeah, they did. I think they did a really cool job with the monk.
Precursor constructs are
I
dotted
agree.
around the atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out your next challenge. There
Yeah,
are
so with this atlas, you're trying to like scout out different areas, find areas that you want. You don't have to do bosses if you don't want to. They have little nodes on that. You'll see in a sec. But this there's a system in PoE1 called Delve, and you're going underground, and you're mining, and you're like staying in the light of your mining cart, and it's an infinite system, basically infinite. One guy actually beat it pretty much though. His name's Steve, Shitstain Steve. Because we'll probably see it in PoE2. Because if you're like the first to get to a zone, there'll be a global message that you were the first to enter that. And so with Delve at different depths, it'll be like, okay, this person was the first to enter it. So you'd always see them going down deeper, and everyone would be cheering them on. And you actually got to a point where like it's supposed to be infinite, but they got to the point where like the integers like couldn't progress any further. So it was kind of funny. But it deals with different biomes, and now we see this in the end game where you have things like your unique maps. Now you can actually see them as like a tropical island. That's a unique map, and your biomes have different kinds of maps they can roll on them, and then there's ones that are like corrupted. I don't know, it looks really cool. But yeah, this is the most untested system they have in the game, because it's just the freshest, and they haven't their early game stuff, the first 3 acts, they have tested a lot more, but not the end game. So it'll be interesting to get there and see how this goes.
Lots of things to find, so keep looking. Some sections of your atlas are influenced by corruption. This adds extra modifiers to the maps in the region, increasing difficulty.
Thanks
and
for following.
rewards. Here, slaying monsters in close proximity to each other
That's my
cause
follow
the vestiges
announcement,
of
but,
corruption within them to merge together, forming powerful and grotesque
It
abominations.
didn't pop up on screen.
You may have noticed while looking at the atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are able to make them very powerful.
There'll be about 50 bosses too.
These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased
In the end game
with
starting,
changes to
there's going to be
AI
about
and some
100
of
by the
their
time
abilities. It's worth
it
noting
ends,
that
and
because you
there'll
can
be
see
more
where
than
the
100
bosses
over the
are,
course
you can
of
choose to
the
take them
game.
on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded
This
with
is cool. So there's a boss hunting section too to the end game tree. And actually, what is the areas with map bosses? Spawn an additional shrine. Okay, shrines are normally pretty good for like juicing your character up and actually filling in some. If you have a weak character in PoE1, I would specialize into shrines so that I would get like 2 things where I'll get like huge like attack speed bonus and like crit every hit. So then I would like be able to make up for my weak power or something like that. So it's cool that you actually get like a boss hunting skill tree. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff they're going to do.
special points for the boss hunting section of the atlas.
+1 to level of areas with map bosses. Area level often dictates what level of items drop. And normally the highest tier of items would be level 85 in PoE1, but we saw a level 90 item in one of their teasers that was really strong. It had literally like +5 to like all lightning skills or something like that, or ice skills, which is I think the highest I've ever seen is like +4. So like they're kind of increasing that ceiling a little bit more, which is kind of interesting.
Skill tree.
And crafting is different
will allow
too.
you to specialize in boss killing, giving you much greater rewards for defeating them.
I know bosses have their AI improved
For
too.
each different type of content in
from
the
the
endgame,
campaign.
we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between
Monk
different
does look
types
cool
of
though,
content.
Cucumber, yeah.
We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come.
It's only
Bosses
7
are not
leagues
the
they're
only
starting
icon
with.
you will see on the atlas. Let's take a look at one of the endgame systems, Breach. If you played
I liked
PoE
Breach and
1,
PoE1
you
a
might
lot.
be familiar with Breach. For PoE2, we have created
How I got one of my
sequels to
early
several
Mage Bloods,
PoE1
which was one of the
leagues. While
like
the mechanic is familiar,
basically like
the
a mythic
monsters,
Gorb,
bosses, rewards,
Mage Blood,
and
but it's
progression
even
are
rarer.
all new. A breach is a tear in the fabric of reality.
Because now they're relatively easy to get.
Demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence. By engaging with a breach, you'll create a bridge between their world and Rayclast. In order to keep the breach
It's
open,
basically a
you
way
will
to
need
add
kill the demons
monsters
that
to your
pour
maps.
forth. The faster
By
you
doing
can kill
these
the
breaches,
monsters, the
you
more
open them up
monsters you will
and then they
find,
expand
the
out.
more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them.
When you
These can
specialize
be a
in it,
good boost to
they'll
the
get
rewards of the
faster too
breach,
if you want
so
them
keep
to,
an
or
eye on
slower if you want them to.
One of the rewards that you may find
Like if you
while
can't
fighting
clear them
monsters from
fast enough,
breach
you make
are
them slower.
tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower.
Yeah, so that's going to be one way to sustain your breaches, it looks like. Like, you're putting tablets into these towers. You're hoping that you actually get towers that overlap too, because then you can put like a tablet here, a tablet here, a tablet here, and then you'll be able to like ultra juice your maps, assuming you can handle it, right? Because that's part of progressing your build, is to handle the harder like the more efficient, the more rewarding, like juiced content. They call it juicing your maps when you're adding a bunch of like currency to them, to like your tablets and to your maps to make them harder, because the reward of spending that currency outweighs the cost that you're spending. Basically, that's the concept of it.
To add more encounters to the Atlas.
You guys are going to be juicing.
Breaches will drop breach tablets.
You're going to be juicers.
Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches?
There's also
Find the
custom loot
tablets,
filters.
Add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly
This is just a
domains.
basic loot filter.
In
We're not going to be
addition,
getting
like
super
all
like
items in PoE, you can craft them. Use
crazy
your
ones.
currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade
Yeah,
all the breaches.
I'm
in
really
range.
hoping that
Tablets
this
can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things
this
like
endgame
adding
piece
extra
has a
rare
little bit of a
monsters,
tutorial
extra
to it.
clasped hands, or even mods to density of breaches, allowing you to keep them open longer. Often, you will find multiple towers near to each other with overlapping areas of effect. This can allow
Like, I think
to
you can pretty
really
much be
juice the
going
mechanic
out and
by
like not
stacking
worry
the
about it
mods
as
from
much and still
multiple
enjoy
tablets.
it. But there is
In
more
your fight
depth
to hold
if
the
you need
breach
there
demons at bay,
to be.
You may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic always has player power that can only be gained from that mechanic, and Breach is no different. In Breach, you will find catalysts, items that can increase the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mods. You can also find Breach Rings, a special base type that can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%.
Because normally the max quality on an item is 20%. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot for that, especially because, yeah, so there's like 7 leagues that they're starting with, and there's, I don't even know how many there are, 30 plus in PoE 1. Not all have made it in, and some have transitioned away, but some of the ones that they bring back that always have some sort of like unique items, like unique power progression if you need it to, which makes it awesome for solo self-found as well, Gorb, because I don't know if you like engaging with trade. They do have things like the currency trade exchange now where you don't actually have to engage with people to get the currency, but if you do want to trade items, you need to use like the trade website. But this allows solo self-found players, it allows regular trade, or if you're a hardcore player too, because your non-hardcore and your hardcore leagues are always that way too. I don't know many hardcore players starting at the start of PoE because there's going to be bugs and there's going to be some really unfun deaths that you have too, and there's going to be, I don't think the servers are going to stand a chance, honestly, because that's just how it goes. I mean, after a bit, probably after the first day, they'll be okay, but SSF is what I started playing PoE 1 actually on hardcore, and every time I die, I just get to that boss again and then go a bit further and the die, and I enjoyed it a lot actually. But I do wish G4 had SSF, but I understand that's just how the game's made, and it would make the world feel kind of terrible because of how it's an open world. But yeah, with the breach rings being something that's specific to it, and having your own like skill trees in it too to progress, it just makes it rewarding to do that. Or you can sell this stuff if it's lucrative to do. If everyone's going for one different league mechanic that's super lucrative, that makes the other ones' value go up because there's fewer of them in the economy, which has been really interesting. Because I did breach in PoE 1 like 3 or 4 leagues ago. It was the first trade league I ever did, and I was just able to farm a steady amount of currency to buy like the items that you're trying to progress towards, like Mage Blood, which made all like my potions effects always on me, and they're really strong rings, really strong belts. But this one lets you just get really high like life rolls, rarity. There's magic find on gear in this game too, which is different. So often seasons bring league mechanics with them, and if that mechanic is good, they'll keep it in the game. So you see a little bit of that in D4. Unfortunately, the vampire mechanic didn't stay in for some reason. They brought some of those some of the power in, or some of the season specific like effects or like skills into aspects on some of the items you can get, as some of the aspects like the blood stuff. But I think they need to do a better job with that. It would be something like your infernal hordes. That might be like a league mechanic or something, but they do a better job with it, I think, in this. And because they've done so many more league mechanics and seasons, like of course PoE1's really bloated because of that, but they try and if it's good and players like it, then they keep it in. And we're seeing a lot of it. I think we're getting kind of 7 of those, at least at the start here. Multiple leagues at once. There's just one league. Normally it's just like it's the most recent update that brings something new to it, because at the start of EA launch, it's there's going to be a lot. There's like 7 or so leagues worth of content mechanics in it. It's just different things to do in the game, and that you can specialize into or just decide not to do. Basically, it's kind of like a buffet. That's what I would consider a lot of leagues, and it's like it might be a bit overwhelming at first, but once you're just sitting there eating happily, then it's just like, oh, I want to try something else. I want to try something else, and you don't have to worry about missing out on some of that other stuff.
In this case, you could create a ring with around
So you get super cracked rings, and then these catalysts increase the life modifiers on it. So then you can. It's just a way to like enchant your rings to make them better.
Can become
this
some
case
of the
with Breach.
strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face
Yeah, not
the demon
concurrent leagues, they're
hordes.
just
In addition,
league
each
mechanics.
in-game mechanic needs to have a pinnacle in-game encounter. While killing breach monsters, you may find
And all of the
breach
mechanics are
splinters.
coming from
Collect enough of
PoE1.
these
There's
and
not
you'll be
like
able to
a
create a breach stone. Using a Val technology called the
PoE2
Realm Gate,
only
you can
league
use your
yet.
breach stone to
They're
access
not
their
going to have
domain
one
and
until
bring
like
the fight to
after
them.
the launch is done.
In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single
So like in
massive
PoE1,
breach.
the most recent
Triggering
league
it will
mechanic
reveal
was literally a town that you make. It's called Kingsmarts, and it sets the stage for PoE2, which is kind of cool because you're basically forming a town in PoE1 that you're going to see in PoE2 20 years later, which is actually a really cool world building concept. But then you're having people like do shipments for you or like do maps for you. It's really cool. Like that would be like one mechanic. But anyway.
Reveal hordes of breach inhabitants.
So with this, yeah, you get breach
And should you be
stones,
fast enough, you
and you're
will be
trying
able
to
fight
beat the
their
timer
leader,
to go
Zesht.
fight this
We then are one.
this spooky boss here. Welcome, Rogue. And again, bosses are what the directors of PoE2 are most excited about. Each boss is going to have, I think, 5 total
This is
difficulties.
just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for yourself. But rest assured, this is some of the hardest content we have ever made. All
So they'll
these
get
encounters have specific uniques
noticing
that can
the,
only be found from them. But that's
very
not all.
handy indeed,
We still
cucumber.
have the progression system. Defeating Zesht will give you points to allocate into the breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the twisted domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses. For example,
So yeah, and again too, once you when you don't have any points in that skill tree, the boss is the easiest. But if you have 2 in the skill tree, it's up to like the next tier, and then I think the boss gets like more. It'll get different moves. Because they don't just want to increase damage. They also want to increase like the how often or
This node adds more clasped hands to your breeches.
what kind
and
of
adds a
skills the
pack of
boss
magic monsters that can guard them.
and they're static
Get
bosses
some more
too.
points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare, which will double the number of splinters you get from
So
clasped
doubling the
hands
amount of splinters
and
is like
inflicting
something you
them
just want if you're doing
mysterious
breaches.
In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty of the Twisted Domain above certain thresholds. Defeating Zesht at difficulty 4
And yeah,
will
like
be a
certain
challenge
uniques will
indeed,
drop
but there are
at a
many
certain
more
tier of
threats in
boss too.
Raidblast.
So there's
Ritual altars are
reason to
sacrificial
do it, lots of
sites
reasons.
built by the mysterious King in the Mists. If you encounter this symbol on the atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars. Ritual altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic, and you must fight to survive. The tribute you have offered to the altar can
Ooh,
be spent
there's
to buy
5
powerful
rituals in
items,
this.
but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an
only
area
4 here.
will spawn
In
the
PoE1,
monsters
the
revived by
most you can get
previous
is 4 in the
ones,
map.
addition to
But
the
I just saw
ones you
5 there.
sacrifice
I think
next
some of the
to.
maps
By
are a
the
bit
end
bigger in
of an area,
PoE2.
You will be fighting a truly imposing number of foes, but will have a significant amount of tribute to spend. One of the rewards you can buy with tribute are omens. These are special items that allow for metacrafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items. Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes?
Ooh, we get a
This
Nixie
omen
visit.
will help you to remove the mod you don't want, while keeping the ones you do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to
Nixie's
specialize into
here.
getting more rituals. If
She's
you
my
want to
lady.
get to the pinnacle boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to
Hold
use
on.
them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Asmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the ritual section of the Atlas tree.
Nixie,
Some
come see me.
maps have been touched by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you.
Oh, I gotta
Step
do
through the
Nixie
looking
camera.
glass and you will find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying. Everything you kill will increase the rewards that drop. However, the deeper into the mist you travel, the stronger the monsters are. Be careful not to overstay your
Yeah,
welcome.
she prefers
Rare and
Breach.
unique enemies will become
That's why she's
vessels
out of here.
for
She's like,
terrifying demons who will
I don't want to
manifest
do
out of them
delirium.
to unleash
She's a sweetie.
powerful
I even put this chair here for her to try and just sit on, but she's like, I don't want to do that. She's normally in sleep mode around here. Hey Nixie, just one more kiss. Hey, one more kiss. I was thinking of getting a Nixie cam too, one time. You can pretty easily actually just make your phone into a camera that way. It's the strongest camera we tend to have laying around. Okay, I gotta... There we go. I still have to deck my room out here too. I can do anything with it. We moved into a new home and it's pretty big, and I'm put in the bottom corner of the home so I can do anything and I don't make noise.
attacks on you. The mist also offers a strange crafting material.
So this delirium mechanic is literally just
By
adding
combining these emotions, you are
more
able to instill
difficulty
your amulet
basically
with
to
a notable
monsters.
from the passive
More
skill
monsters
tree.
and more
This is
difficulty
like
to your
gaining
maps.
an
So
extra passive point for free.
you have to be able to
attached your
handle that
gear.
kind of juice.
They
There's also a mechanic in PoE 1 called Blight that's not in the game yet. It's probably going to come. It's Darth Microtransactions' favorite mechanic. If you guys watch him at all, he was hoping it would be in there. But this actually takes something from it because you can anoint passives on here from the skill tree by collecting these things and then putting them together in different content. Because there might be a node you really want to get, but it's at like the opposite side of the tree and you just can't
They are
get
also
it. So this lets you do
great
that.
because you don't have to traverse the tree to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses that would normally be much harder to get. Distilled emotions can also be used to instill your in-game maps.
And this is new too. Because in Blight, there were blighted maps that would just have big blights. Blight was a tower defense league mechanic. So there'd be like little towers that you can build around portals that monsters are trying to destroy your little base station. Which again, we're pretty sure it's going to be coming back actually pretty quickly. But this one actually modify was sold. Players in the area or more delirious. Unique monsters have 2 additional modifiers. Modifiers add difficulty big time to the monsters, but it also adds a lot more reward that way. I'm just reading you here. Is the grind of this game farming the mats to do juice content? I think it's a bit of you can buy mats if you don't like farming them, because sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna spend like a divine to buy like the juice that I need to do maps that I can get like 3 divine from, or maybe I'm gonna spend like, yeah, you can have people do the farming for you if you don't want to, and then so that you can do like the juice content. It is kind of one of the good parts of being able to do more difficult content earlier. It means that you can kind of get ahead into some of these things a bit more. And normally it's early bird gets the worm, however you want to call it. Exploit early and exploit often, because sometimes things will be like super underpriced, or because they added, normally there's 16 tiers of difficulty in PoE1. And you want to do tier 16 because it has the hard, like the best, like it's the most efficient reward, so long as you can handle it. But then they added tier 17, that was even like more juiced and had like harder bosses at the end that drop special materials. So then you could fight uber bosses. So maybe you're buying the uber boss materials and not farming them, but you're just running the uber bosses because you make more money just buying the materials and running it than doing it yourself. Or maybe it's close. So it pays to know the market a bit too that way, because I was flipping materials still too this past league. Like I was buying stuff for like stacks of stuff for like anywhere from 5 to 7 each, and then I was selling them for like 18 each. So I was getting like more than double for some things, and it was fun. It's just not very fun sitting in your hideout doing that sort of stuff. Thank you for the follow. I don't see my hold on, let me flip to my just chatting for a second. There we go. Thanks, Hadjian. You guys like my I added a little Santa hat here to my Lumerius. This is the boss at the end of Act 4, I think 4. Someone told me, and he's gonna be sick. This is gonna have some of the coolest boss fights this game of any game ever. It's gonna put Tomb Lord to shame. Unfortunately, he's a good guy, that Tomb Lord, but it's time to level up. It's time to get into it's Festivus for the rest of us. This guy. This is the first next gen ARPG they're saying.
Applying Delirious to them and adding additional difficulty and rewards, allowing you to further juice your in-game.
So yeah, you want to be able to
the
just
tablets you can find from
do the most juice content that you enjoy doing as much as
increase pack
possible,
size,
but you have to be able
make
to
the fog
support it.
dissipate slower, or improve your progress towards the pinnacle encounter of Delirium.
Another thing that I don't know if you guys knew yet, but you only have one chance to do these maps now. Before you could have 6 portals, so if you could basically fail 6 times or die 6 times or log out 6 times, but now in PoE2 you can actually pause the game. You can hit escape and pause, which is that includes party play as well. But that is beautiful for if I don't know if you have kids, Gorb, but me and Hugh Cumber do, and that is a very nice thing. Let me tell you, to be able to pause. And I think if you log out, it'll resume from where you left off. So if you're in a boss fight and you need to pause, you need to go take care of something, then you can come back and you'll still be like in that spot. I don't know how it drops or how that sort of works with like hardcore characters, but it's a big thing. I don't think they talk about it in the reveal at all. But you have one chance. Once you fail a map here, you need to go another route and you can't run that map again. So I don't know if that's maybe a bit too extreme. We're going to see how it plays out that way.
Speaking of which, every now and then you will find simulacrum splinters. The mysterious entity will create strange encounters based on
so Zoom
warped
calls, if you
versions
need
of
to
your
call,
own
you need to
memories. Monsters
pause
and
for that.
simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult.
Or if you need to, you're playing PoE2 during a Zoom call, but then you need to talk and you have to hit escape for a sec so you don't die.
You
I
will
used to work
receive
from
loot
home
at the
too.
end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing.
I'd have my cam on when I would do Zoom calls. I would make my window really small for PoE1 and I'd put it right under my webcam so it looks like I was looking at my webcam. And then I would play games, depending on what it is.
Up against even tougher foes from the
I'm a stay-at-home dad right now, though, so I don't have to do that right now.
mist. The bosses you will face as you get deeper into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can complete a simulacrum, you will gain points for the Delirium section of the Atlas skill tree.
So yeah, Delirium's pretty much just raw juice. They don't show what the pinnacle bosses are at the end of Delirium or Ritual. Well, at Ritual, it's going to be the King of the Mist, which is a cool fight too. But this is going to be the rest of your off. Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect then, Gorb. Yeah, and you got your key already, so you're set. That's sick. So I actually had a lot of my family was going for November 15th. They were going to my mother-in-law's acreage with my toddler, and then they delayed it 3 weeks to December 6th, and I was like, oh no. But hopefully I can be able to play enough of it. So we don't know many of the nodes here on this tree, but I'll keep going. Expedition
Next up,
is
we have Expedition.
fairly beloved league
Occasionally,
mechanic.
while clearing corruption, you will encounter these Kalguran settlers. The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites with lost Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help dig them up with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig up as many as possible. There is just one problem. Corruption has brought the corpses of their ancestors to life, so you might have to do a little cleanup before you can reclaim the artifacts.
Yeah, so you're putting down different explosives. So you get a number of explosives, you're putting them down, and sometimes they have like there's altars, and they'll have something like monsters block 30% or something like that. Or there are sometimes things that will break your build, so it'll be like they're immune to physical damage, and if you have physical damage only, then of course you wouldn't want to have chosen that. But you're setting down explosives like in a ring, and see, here's like a big chest that you would get, and there's like bigger like skulls around. I don't see any. See them? It's for like more like elite monsters to fight, and then you're detonating them in a chain, and they get all the previous rewards on them. These remnants here.
Anger the restless dead.
So you get more items or rarer items.
Monsters more powerful, but also
or like everything will drop jewels or something. So you're just asking Gorb about RMT. RMT isn't anything that has a trade economy, unfortunately. Because as soon as you give someone the ability to actually trade with somebody, they can do that for money if that's something they're doing outside of the game or in person, right? But they do try and tackle it better. I think it's done better in this.
Danik,
Yeah,
Rog,
you know how it is.
Tujen, and
But
Gwyneth will exchange the
let me show
artifacts.
you here. So like gold is something that you can only find talking about GGG mechanics. So I'm a GGG mechanic to help with RNT. So not only being able to see some of that and do like banning based on that, but also if you're using like currency exchange, you can only use the currency exchange with gold, and you need to play the game to get gold. So if someone is just like botting and that sort of stuff, like you can still do trades on the trade site from that. But if you're trading from someone who's suspected to be from that, then I think you normally just get banned. And we see on the PoE Reddit pretty often of people saying they got banned
Also find tablets to
and then
increase
admitting
the
to like
number of
RMT at one
expeditions
point.
and the rewards.
So like it does happen. People
This
do get
one
banned for
increases
it.
the radius of explosives.
Don't
while
buy it,
this one
guys. Just
increases the number of
earn it
remnants you
or
will
make
find.
some friends, or people will give you stuff too. It's like in D4, people give their stuff away all the time, and they join a guild, join a clan. They'll give you stuff too. Oh, I see what you're saying. So can you pay real money for stuff in game, like a WoW token?
Eventually,
Only
you might
cosmetic
discover
stuff
a
and a bit of
logbook.
stash
These are
space.
special maps full of
So like
buried
extra
treasure and
stash
relics.
space.
Essentially,
We don't
one
actually
giant
see
jigsaw.
stash stuff in PoE2.
Here, you can create an
But,
extremely long chain of explosives and go through a very
You
high
do it
number of
to support the
remnants.
game
But be
with
careful,
MTX
many
and
remnants
some
have mods that
convenient
can
stash
barely
tabs
break
that
your
give you
build, so you'll
extra,
probably want to avoid these ones. If you add too many
a little bit of
remnants,
extra
you can
quality of
easily
life
make
for
the
it.
encounter
That's basically how
harder
they
than
monetize. They monetize mostly through stash spaces. At least I'm pretty sure that's what they said before. But people also have been like some of their supporter packs. Again, they go up to. I think I have a screen cap of it here because I enjoy my stuff. So like, you know, it goes up to $480, their biggest supporter pack, and people buy that because they appreciate what GGG does. They'll do that. I have spent more than $2,500 USD in this game, and it felt worse being forced to spend $40 in D4 for Vessel of Hatred. I was having a harder time forcing myself to pay $40 than it was to support GGG through all this stuff. And I think that's something that another thing that I think they do wrong in D4, because you also get physical items too, t-shirt, hoodie, and then normally something artsy. So they had like an art book included with it that has some spoilers in it actually. They have acts 1 through 5 in this art book with different stuff going on, but yeah, being able to pay for tabs, like you can see why it's nice, because you can buy quad tabs that are like 4 times the normal size, premium tabs too, and you also need a premium tab to do trading. You have to put in your premium tab, but it also, like, you have item affinities. There's like a uniques only tab, so you can throw all your uniques in your unique tab, your currency tab, and your maps tab. So normally, if you haven't played before, you're gonna want a currency tab, maps tab, and normally like some sort of premium tab. But tabs do go, stashes do go on sale, or stashes and tabs, that's what I mean, sorry. Like I'm using that interchangeably. Yeah, but so they go on sale. Plus, if you got a rewarded a key though, right? You won a key, so you don't actually have to buy it. But if you do buy the supporter pack for $30, you get $30 worth of points that you can buy stash tabs for.
You can handle.
Yeah, one is like a
There are
premium.
all sorts of interesting things buried under the ground in logbooks. You might find dripping caves and hidden pirate caches.
And all
but the
your
most
PoE1
powerful
stuff
encounter
transfers
is
to your
Olaf,
PoE2
an
stuff and vice
ancient undead
versa.
commander of the Knights of the Sun.
Which is an
Defeating
amazing
him
thing
will
that they
grant you
do.
Unique rewards, as well as points to spend in the expedition section of the
Yeah,
Atlas trip.
that is why D4 hurts.
So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas, but we are not done
One of the
yet.
reasons it
the
does.
trials we talked about earlier have much more content when you get.
Like, again, like all that money I spent in PoE, all the MTX, I guess, are transferring over, if it's applicable, to that. Because, for example, like if you get like a druid skin or something, if they do druid skins for like shapeshifting skins, then it wouldn't transfer to PoE1 because there's no druid there. Or same with flails. Flails don't exist in PoE1 as a weapon type, or spears, but so they wouldn't transfer to PoE1. But basically everything in PoE1 can transfer to PoE2. If it makes sense. But you might not have, like, because there's league mechanics stashes too. So like my Delirium one will transfer over, and my Essence ones might transfer over, but they may look a bit different. But my Delve one won't, because it doesn't exist, at least now. But it's a pretty awesome
Get to endgame 2.
thing of them
Just
to do.
like the other endgame systems,
And this
they
is why it's
also have
easy to support them, because they do
progression
cool
mechanics,
stuff like
unique
that.
rewards, and player power that can
And the
only be
value, like
gained
you're
from
saying,
them.
Cucumber, it's just,
As you get higher level
wild.
coins for the Trial of the Sycamores, you will unlock more floors to explore. Each floor has its own
so this
challenging
trial from
runes
earlier,
and a floor
you can
boss
add
that
way
will
more
need to
runes
kill.
in the end game to it. I never really did much
There are
Sanctum.
4 floors in total, leading to another pinnacle boss at the end of the last floor, which can only be accessed at endgame. The Trial of the Sycamores is where you'll find jewels, which you can socket into your
Jewels.
tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers that may not be easily accessible on the tree normally. This jewel gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel sockets on the tree,
Harleytron,
so it's possible
what's up?
to gain a lot of power here.
Noble,
There are also
Harleytron.
other types of jewels that don't
Harley,
provide
have you heard
any
anything
bonuses
about
themselves,
PlayStation
but
yet?
affect other passive surroundings.
Or is it still,
This
you have to
jewel
wait till the
increases
6th?
The effect of small nodes and radius
And
by
Cucumber, you have a
25%.
PS as well,
With
but I think you have to
careful
wait till the
placement in
6th to
tree,
actually, like,
you could get a
buy.
significant amount of power from it. There are also unique jewels available with very interesting.
Yeah, so like this jewel, you're socketing that in a node in your tree here, and it's making everything around it improve in strength. It is actually, it kind of reminds me of like in the Paragon board too, when you have the nodes that increase the surrounding like magic nodes. It's kind of similar to that in that sense. But there's going to be some really good areas for things that would be good to know about in terms of increasing power.
Interesting effects, but you will have
Knowledge
to find
is
those
power
for
in
yourself.
PoE, and it always has been.
In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start.
This is a nice system
They
for
give special
hardcore
bonuses that
because
affect
when
the
you
trial,
get hit, it
making
hurts your
easier
honor, and if you run
increasing
out of
its
honor, you
rewards.
die, but
Of
your
course,
character
you can
doesn't
craft
die.
these with your
Well, they can
currency
die if
items, making them
they lose their
even
life,
stronger.
but
If you can complete the
gives you a
entire
way to
trial,
fail without
overcoming
dying in
all four
hardcore, which is
floors,
kind of cool.
The final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next run, but can reward you with unique and powerful items. For example, this is
Check
the
this out.
Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only one honor for the entire trial. So
So
you will
this
need
is-
to do a completely
you find
hitless
this
run.
unique, and then you do a run where you can't get hit once.
The Trial of
in,
Chaos
like-
also extends into the endgame.
like,
As you
I don't
gain
know,
inscribed
30, 20 plus
ultimatums of
runes,
higher and higher levels,
but you get, like,
the
a
number of
crazy
chambers that
unique,
you can go through
like,
increases.
ultra rare.
In true Val style, this allows
Yes,
you
which
to
is in
take even
PoE 1
more
as well.
risks for even more rewards. At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking 10 tribulations on top of each other will make this a significant challenge, but it's worth it. The Trial Master will tempt you with items of the Val Empire, such as Val Orbs. Val Orbs are powerful crafting items that corrupt your gear.
So Val orbs are changed. You used to be able to find those really early. Oh, well, there's one other thing that I want to mention to you guys that you probably, I'm going to assume you don't know about. But there's a PC Gamer article that came out, I think a bit over a week ago, that mentioned that there is like these like Val altars that allow you to change your skill gems, and I think give you like Val skills. Because in PoE 1, there's Val skills. It was basically like an ultimate version of a gem that you build souls up and then like use your ultimate for that gem. So you'd get like a Val earthquake, and then you'd be able to do an earthquake that was like massive. When you can still use your regular earthquake skill, but when you use the Val version of it, it would make like a crazy big one or something, or it would like aftershock 3 times or something. And we're anticipating those to come back. And they kind of mentioned them, but I don't know if it actually made it into the EA launch. We don't actually know if it did or not. But they did mention like being able to corrupt your skill gems. So basically like progress your skills further, it sounds like. Anyway, but here's the corruption system in case you guys don't know about it yet.
With random mysterious outcomes. Corruption prevents an item from being modified further, so it has to be
It's like
the
the
last
last
step of your
stage
craft. But
of
it's also
crafting.
the most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your body armor, it might add a new powerful enchantment, or it might re-roll up to half of its modifiers.
So in PoE 1, you have a 25% chance of just destroying your, like, bricking your item. But it's like, it gives you a chance to make it, like, even better. It's gambling, but it's funny to be able to do it that way. Or it can add sockets. So yeah, they added sockets in place of the crafting bench here, just to be able to help fill in some of the gaps in your build a little bit more with runes. Rune words will not be in D2, at least in this form, because Jonathan Rogers said that rune words, because I don't know about you guys, but I remember rune words pretty fondly. But he's like he thinks, and he's of the of the mind that it's not the rune words that are cool, it's the power that we would get from rune words that was cool. And so that's why they're not going to be in there, because they don't want to do like sets in this game, because they want you to be able to build something that you didn't have last league, or they don't want you to all, like, the top players to all have like the exact same gear. They want you to be able to find something cool and unique, and be able to make stuff yourself, and make and just and do it that way. Corrupted is one way to get it there, but it's risky, and then you can't modify it afterwards. So it's an interesting way if you want to gamble that way.
Add a socket, allowing you to bypass the normal restriction of how many sockets an item can have.
So,
a body armor could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mods. Val Orbs can even modify uniques. Adding enchantments or sockets to uniques can make
it's
them
terrifying, but
powerful, but there is
it's
a
up to you.
good chance that you will break
You
them
can take
as
the
well.
risk. Or there's people like, again, if you know how to craft in this game, because it's going to be easier in some ways, but they still wanted to have the depth of crafting here, so that if you do know a lot, you can profit off of it. Because another thing too with that too, like you asked earlier, Gorb, is like you can buy buy materials from people because maybe they don't know how to craft it, but you do. And then you can make items that sell for a lot more than the cost of materials. Like sometimes that's a lot more. In PoE1, I was able to make like a dagger. I had to roll for one affix. It took me an hour and a half. I was rolling for an hour and a half. And I got it, and I was able to make it. And then it sold, and then they could sell for like 40 to like 50 divines, which are pretty good. Basically, you need to sell 4 of those to get the best belt in the game. But it takes time.
Will also occasionally offer
and if you don't like it, then don't do it.
Originally formed by Chaos, the Vaal sought to replicate soul cores through human sacrifice rituals and blood magic to power their civilization. Soul cores are powerful socketable items.
So I actually haven't really seen these too much. So let's see if we can back up a bit. So soul cores, I don't think you can remove soul cores from items. Once you put them in, that's it. Okay. Yeah, it says there too. One socketed cannot be removed. Martial weapons, crit damage bonus, nothing too crazy. Hits against you, 10% reduced crit chance bonus. That can be pretty good, because if you get 100% reduced crit chance bonus, then you're immune to crits. And that's the kind of stuff that you think about too, because maybe you get something that gives you 50% reduced, and you're like, oh, I just need a little bit more, and then I can become immune to that.
Items,
or maybe it's different elements that you want to get immune to.
Like all in-game content, there is of course a pinnacle boss. The final chamber will drop keys to this mysterious door. Some say this is where the Trial Master himself resides. Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet? Because there is still just one more thing. The most difficult content in Path of Exile 2.
What up,
While
Noble?
mapping, you might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze
You a PoE player,
riddled
Noble?
with danger. Is the maze...
Yes, this mysterious pinnacle boss, like the pinnacle boss here. What's on there? Leaves? I don't know if you guys can see that. Looks like leaves. Leaves at the base. This weird architecture going on.
preventing something from getting in, or something getting out. This fortress is of ancient origin,
I'm just seeing if there's any like hints at all anywhere.
and its construction has similarities to
I
the
don't
towers
think you guys
and
would know
tablets
about
that
it,
you have
but
been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter.
okay, so you need
Local
3 keys
factions
to
are vying
enter.
for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them. Each faction is led by an Uber Act boss. You can see one of them inhabiting the city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones. Be careful. If you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on.
Well, these
and you will
bosses are
need
going to be
find
so
them again.
sick.
Kill all the Uber bosses and you will gain access to the fortress. We aren't
Looks a little dark inside.
going to spoil it,
You fight Diablo.
as we can't wait to see you guys attempt it for the first time. But is there a tree you get points in after killing it? Of course there is. This is Path of Exile. There is always another tree.
So these are your challenges for PoE2.
Oh, it's just so nice to see when they want to exceed your expectations. That's the coolest thing. So yeah, it looked like from the pinnacle fight there that you fight an Uber Act boss. So they have 2 lieutenants. You kill 2 lieutenants. You fight the Uber Act boss. So these are the bosses from the act. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, because we only have 3 at the start. I wonder if these will get randomized in the future then, when they add Act 4, 5, and 6. Act 6 is going to be half the length of the other ones, too, when it comes to the acts. But they say it's pretty cataclysmic. So I don't know if like kind of like hell comes to Earth or you go there or something pretty much.
Keys required to enter.
So you fight lieutenants, you fight the Uber Act boss, get the keys, and then go fight this boss.
Well, during early access, you'll need a key to get in. To thank our existing PoE supporters who have spent more
then
than
there's the supporter
$480
packs.
we'll be giving you guys a key for the PC version for free. Anyone else who wants one can get one by purchasing
And I got
one
a
of
free
the new
key. I was
early
hoping I'd
access
get
supporter
extra
packs
keys,
that have
but
just been released to the store.
for past
If you
purchases,
just
but I
want
don't.
early access to PoE2,
Oh
then you
well.
can get a key in the $30 early
So yeah,
access
30
pack.
USD.
The pack also comes with
Plus
$30
points.
of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics can be used right now in
Oh, I see the one you guys are getting right here. This $240 pack comes with a t-shirt and a hoodie. Basically, all of my last 3 hoodies have been PoE related hoodies. By now, it's been like 2 years.
PoE 1 and in Path of Exile 2 when early access starts.
I don't
of
like
this
buying
footage
for
has been
myself,
recorded
though.
in
I
Path
don't
of
know you
Exile
guys.
1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of Ogham supporter pack contains a cosmetic armor set befitting of the Count of Ogham himself. There is also a matching back attachment, which has an alternate variant depicting the
So you guys have your
influence of
classes
devotion.
figured out then?
Also in this pack, you can find a portal formed
This
of
portal's
the
pretty
rusted
cool.
armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Veil of Ogham,
I'll definitely get this
and
back.
the offspring of a vicious crowbell boss found in the hunting grounds. This one doesn't look so vicious though.
Which? Yeah. Wait,
On
which
top of
which
that,
are you
you'll
thinking of,
receive the
Sean?
Iron Count's Y-hander to apply to your one-handed or two-handed swords. For those who are wanting to decorate your hideouts with
All right,
fond
Gorb, we're
memories
going
and
right
tales of
back.
Path of Exile's. Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them.
Let's
The
check
monk
him out
is a
again.
fast and
Here's the monk.
furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat, and his mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose
Vaulting Impact was added very recently. He didn't have a movement skill like that before. Yeah, when I think that's what they're going for. Mantra Destruction we haven't seen yet either. That's a new one. We see a bit of Flicker Strike in some of the footage too, and Hana Cheula is also new. That's like a chaos skill. Cheula is a breach boss from Path of Exile 1. One of the ascendancies like is the acolyte of Cheula, like you're worshipping like a dark god that you don't realize is like super a god that you don't realize is literally like a breach boss. It's kind of lore wise, it's actually kind of awesome. And yeah, over here when we get primal skills, Gorb, that might be your bread and butter. If you like some of the druid stuff, it'll be pretty cool. It's like different slams, different roars, and then I'm not sure. And they're probably gonna have some sort of paladin class type before Diablo 4 does too, because the Templar's pretty good too.
choose to engrave a
They
new
use
one.
flails in this game.
Since
in
this is a
one.
level 7 skill gem,
Spear's gonna be
even
cool
if you
too,
pick a
like an
new skill,
Amazon
it will
returning is
immediately
gonna be
level
sick.
7, so there's no harm in trying out something new. The monk primarily
They're also
uses the core
speculating
stuff. There are 3 skills
that
in martial
there's gonna be
arts,
like a
ice,
stealth mechanic for
And
when they
wind.
reveal the shadow.
but don't think you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve
And then there's
mixing
the
elements
duelist.
of all 3.
who may actually
Let's
be
try
named the
killing
Gladiator,
harm.
and he's
Like
gonna
many
have
monk skills,
swords.
this can be used to quickly take
Because you'll be able to get
advantage
like
of
a
specific
whirlwind
situation.
class as well.
If there's an enemy on low life,
So yeah,
you
monk
use
is
killing harm
super
to dash
agile
to them and kill them
and
instantly. This will provide a power charge.
lots of
Then we can use a
dashing,
different
building
skill
up
to
power
consume that
charge,
power charge for
slamming
a
him
much more
down
devastating attack.
for like
The
more
monk
devastating
also has
stuff.
powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it.
Lots of synergy
You
with
can
this
also do
skill.
things like freeze or shock the bell, which
And
will
if you're
add
playing with any
elemental damage to
friends.
the strikes. The monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy
Boom.
is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles.
I wonder what the third ascendancy is going to be like.
There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves.
I thought there'd be like a wind cutting kind of guy that like.
By
I mean, look at
endgame,
this.
you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks.
It does look pretty good. It looks pretty satisfying.
Now, if you like a style of melee that's a
I
little
agree with you.
slower but hits much harder,
I do want to
then
play
the
like
Warrior
every
is for
ascendancy
you.
eventually.
He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control.
I'm kind of thinking
Longer attacks can be retargeted as
Warbringer.
you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time.
But the next video that I have to lined
Among
up
the skill option for maces
is
you'll find
warrior
a variety
footage.
of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with
Slam the
lines of
ground.
fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava.
This
I
does
can
look
even
pretty
run through
clean
them with
though.
a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts
I
of
love the
damage.
big hits. Boom.
The warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double
You can
that
use a
with even
shield
more
too on
crazy.
like other characters. Because yeah, the block
If
is
you want to go a
there's an
little
active
faster
block
and be
as
a
well
little
as a
more
passive
defensive,
block
hook
for
a
it.
shield.
Really see
PoE2,
here.
you can raise your shield at any time.
It blocks
to block
all damage from the front, except
even
AoE
spells.
damage or unblockable.
While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this
There's
red
also ways
flash.
to get rid of
If you see
your
one of these coming, make sure to
dodge roll
out
or
of the way.
modify it.
Using
There's
a shield
also
gives you access
a
to
meta
shield
gem that I
skills
think
like
you
Shield Charge,
you can do
which allows you
stuff
to
on
charge
dodge,
towards enemies and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole
or you
time,
can
so have
remove your
full damage
blink
immunity from the front.
and
The warrior
you can
also has
remove your
access to
dodge
totems.
for a blink for like
Some
100
totems have
spirit. I
built-in
think is
abilities
another
like Shockwave Totem,
ability.
which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the earthquake. But you can also get ancestral warrior totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put
I
other
think you can
skills
have 10
into.
skills
I can take a
max.
slam like Sunder and
Be
socket
on
it
the
into my ancestral warrior totem.
one ascendancy that
Now
lets
when
you
I
have 3
summon
more.
him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
So
There
if
are
you want to
20 active
slam
skills
and
for
walk into the
Masons, so there's
jam,
a lot
this
more to
is
try out. But by
one of the
endgame,
better
you'll be
ones.
dropping hammers
I
from
was
the
thinking of
sky,
doing
fearlessly into combat and separating the very earth you
a
stand on.
Warcry build where I'm using voice commands actually to do it. I don't know what kind of
Time
words
for
I'm
some
going to use for that though.
ranged attacks.
I don't know if it'll
The Ranger
register
is
like
primarily
rah.
a battle bow, but we wanted to make sure
I think
that
that'd be
she feels
funny, though.
agile as well.
I think that'd be
In
really
PoE2,
fun.
you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the Ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat. Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks.
I think the Huntress is going to be more
Lightning
interesting
attacks
here
bounce around
though.
between targets. You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground, which
It's like
explode when
the
hit by
other
bounces,
pure agility
or
class. No,
electrocute enemies to take them out
Yes.
of combat.
the other pure agility class. Huntress.
Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze
it?
enemies to keep them
Yeah.
away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar,
Get
but
some
also
frame
grow
rate drops
some
here.
Interesting plants. With 21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the Ranger has,
Are you guys?
can
Are
take
your
advantage
PCs
of
up
every
to
situation.
par?
By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or spraying out of tornadoes. You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times. if
You're
they're
set,
full.
Gorb.
But that's not the only
I think
thing
you're
you can
you're
use
good too.
charges
You
for. Charms are a new item type. that
My
will
4080
automatically
should hold
defend you
too.
From various debuffs
and I have
or
a
damage types.
5800
Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip a thawing charm.
X3D.
When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze.
Only
for 3
one gen
seconds
behind
if
you,
get
Gorb.
frozen.
The 9800
recharge them,
X32 is
kill
looking
more monsters.
looking pretty solid.
You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The mercenary wields a crossbow.
Though so
and
much
loaded with
stuff is,
different ammo types,
GPU
offering
bound right now
versatility,
anyway.
Power and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles.
So yeah, this is one of
and
the
even
most
grenade
unique ones.
launchers.
Nice.
But
Yeah,
not
that
only
should be in the
there are a
next
wide
like
variety
few
of more
months.
interesting elemental ammos too.
So I'm hearing.
It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them.
No,
loaded,
I don't think it really
which
does
makes
yet.
the mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating
A
effect.
5090 makes
Use
more
glacial
sense
bolt to create
because of
walls of
how
ice to
much
separate
stuff
enemies,
is like
then
GPU
switch to
bound,
fragmentation rounds to explode the ice,
especially in the
dealing
4K
massive
realm.
AoE damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down.
Unless you're
Or
playing
perhaps I could fire a
1080p,
gas grenade to poison enemies, or
like
detonating a
500
cloud with an
FPS.
explosive shot for massive damage.
Yeah, then
If
you
you
probably
want
want
to call in some
GPU.
suppressing fire,
Another one.
you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll
Yeah,
be
it is
calling
2K.
destruction down from the sky.
This is
as you
I'm doing
rid the battlefield
1440p
with
right now. I
grenades
think
and
I'm
pin your
downscaling
enemies
it
with
for
your
the stream.
automatic
But...
shotgun. If you're looking to take a back seat and let your
All right, here it
minions
is.
do the
Here it
work,
is, Cucumber.
then the witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her while casting
Nice.
powerful
You're pretty
chaos
set.
spells that debilitate her enemies.
I just got a
Occult skills are some of the most varied
LG
in the game,
C4
with
OLED today,
skeletons,
just for
noxious
like for a
spells,
TV in my house
specialty
because I
minions,
have
curses, and
2
sacrificial
C1s,
magic.
but I wanted my wife
Before we
wanted
talk about
another
minions, We'll
TV,
have to talk about a new resource
so she's
in
like, just get
Path of
the
Exile 2
most
called
recent
Spirit.
one.
This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a
But
range of
of course
persistent
it's
skills.
it's bigger than
All
the
classes have a
Alienware
variety of
one,
these skills which can add
which
some
means
very interesting
you have to
effects,
sit further back, and
like
it's not
armor, which does
it's
cold
not
damage to
really for
enemies
me.
that hit you, or raging
for her.
spirits which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a
AKA,
fire
I'm
spell.
jealous of your OLED.
For the witch, though, we'll want to be using our spirit.
But
to
I
create
can at least move
permanent
the
minions.
Xbox over to
These minions will be
another
revived
TV and
automatically when they die,
do it in another room.
so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time.
Nice. Yeah,
Here,
77 inch.
I'm using the skill screen to allocate which
Yeah,
minions
we
I
have a
would like in my
65
horde.
inch.
You
I
can
don't know
see
if we
the
can go to
spirit cost of
77
each
in our
one.
main one. We have a data
Skeletal
room with a
warriors are cheap,
projector,
but
but
weak. Useful for tanking damage and
you can
distracting
probably put like an
enemies.
80 inch there one
But I want
day.
more heavy hitters in my army. So
But
I'm
you'd
going
be
to
losing
unsummon
like
some
100
warriors
inches
and
if I
instead
did
add
that.
skeletal arsonists.
I hate the delay on it though, but I want to
Permanent
play
minions
on
come
it.
with special active abilities
On
called
projectors.
command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more
Yeah.
spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army
Me
than
too,
that,
but I might
you
try and
can
do
take
some
advantage of
Xbox, in
corpses
other
to summon
rooms too.
true hordes of minions.
Or I'm gonna go to my
But
my
what can
in-laws'
the witch
house and
do
play
while her army is at work?
PoE2
Well, she has a range of
with
chaos
my
spells
uh,
to spread disease amongst your
my
enemies,
brother-in-law and
or
my
bone skills to
sister-in-law,
impale them.
and they don't play
Or, you
RPGs.
could curse them to make them weaker, so
I'm
your
just trying to
horde can take
convert
them
everyone
down.
I can to this stuff.
There are 25 active occult skills. By the end game, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path.
Trying to convert everyone. So another thing that isn't mentioned here, Cucumber, there's quite a few minions actually. Yeah, so Witch is essentially Necro. I was actually a bit surprised. You'll see in a second with Ascension, because I'll do that one more time, if you don't mind, Cucumber. I just love all this stuff. It's so much to take in that I've seen this video probably closer to 10 times, but like I've also seen, I watch people's reactions to it too. And because it's like long content, there's quite a few other minions that you can't even see in here. There's clerics that'll actually heal and revive your guys. They're a bit later on. There's reavers that I think are two-handed axe guys that their health degenerates pretty quickly, but their attack speed goes up when it gets lower, and then clerics can heal them. And then there's yeah, no, that's fair. Oh, that witch is what you're talking about, Sean. This witch was what you were talking. Which? What else do they? I'm just trying to think what else in here. But yeah, again, any monster in this game can be revived as a specter, which just reserves a decent amount of spirit. And they have unique skills, which some of them I guarantee you are going to be just completely like busted, because that's how PoE1 was usually like. But you can literally like I don't know, so just those little touches like that, because Diablo 2 had that sort of stuff too. You could resurrect, you could revive, and that's one another thing where I find D4 so underwhelming that they don't have something like that when it seems like it's not too bad to do that, right? Something like that, and just the ambition to do that I think is really cool, and the minions reviving, because it's just no one likes to resummon that stuff. if they don't have to. It's just kind of boring. They don't talk about like zombies very much. You can do that, and then you can if you have power charges, you can summon zombies without corpses. And then there's like the bone minions that when they hit a corpse, you summon like a bone, like a scorpion that like will spread your dots to other people that they touch. Like there's all these cool stuff going on. Like in the showcase. I don't know if I sent you the witch showcase, but and Teeth Your Snicker was a crime, and that was their expansion class, wasn't it? Anyway, let's continue on. We're helping Gorb find his main class here.
Using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic.
So Sorceress in the early playtest was the weakest class.
Elemental skills have everything you might expect and more.
But they've been buffing her a lot, actually. And look how much, like, she's really moving. Because, yeah, it's WASD now, too. Which, yeah, I know you like that, Cucumber, but it's really solid for range classes to be able to cast while moving. Kind of like Vampire Survivor, like PoE, like.
Extra fire damage. It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special
I do like this in D4 with being able to set that on the Barbarian, being able to set which weapon you use. It has WASD now, yeah. It is the reason that it was delayed by a year, because they needed to redo a lot of tuning when you have the ability to move, like a lot of like how bosses target and enemies target and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, so it does have the WASD option. There's still point to click to move as well, which my understanding and some of the gameplay footage that I've seen, some of the GGG staff use click to move for Monk, and it's also pretty good on melee. But you can use it on anyone as well. Yeah, it's nice. It's helpful.
The Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are 25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes. Now, those are the characters that will be available at the start of early access.
People were worried that endgame was going to be slow because they wanted to slow stuff down in PoE2. But
there's a lot more to
it's
come.
looking pretty fast.
There's one more important thing to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions.
I think we've all played WoW here.
You
pretty
can
good
use
amounts.
all these skills on any class so long as you have the attributes.
I was a
For example,
Resto druid in that for a long time
want to try
too.
Out using occult curses to increase her
Up until about Warlords of Draenor.
Might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically
and yet you can use any
looking forward to what kind of things
any spell on any class too.
Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build.
It's just helpful for new players
to haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet.
To have skill suggestions, especially with support gems too.
Support gems.
But we'll skip that because Sean's already seen that. But yeah, now the Ascension classes. So these are, I consider these the main classes, the Ascension classes, because they give so much flavor and like and often power too, that it's like it's where you should kind of start.
The last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension.
Right, because I don't think you saw these yet, right, Gorb? I don't think you were here
Starting
yet.
in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of early access, only 2 per class will be available. Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can drastically affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Stormweaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage. And
well, when the Druid comes out, maybe you'll see something like that.
Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze. Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again.
It's pretty cool, but there's still so many nodes that we don't know about too. Because time freeze is like here in the bottom left. Time snap, I think that resets your cooldowns. And then temporal rift backs you up 4 seconds. Yeah, Chronomancer is awesome. This was one of their bigger reveals in the whole trailer. But they wanted to do that. They wanted to have unique stuff on here to make them distinct from one another. But they also don't want to lock you in to using specifics like weapons. Like they want you to be able to, like use minions on a Chronomancer and that sort of stuff. Yeah, and that's a good point, Elise. That it's just these cool little details. Plus, it's just gorgeous art. Also, the GGG are huge Magic the Gathering like influenced people. They love it. A lot of their design philosophy is like it too. But I mean I love the art on the Magic cards, but they want to have good art in this game, and that's where a lot of their cost increase has gone towards art over the last 5 years, and their art team. But yeah, there's a whole on. There's what 1, 2, 3, 4, and there was one other one too. I think that we didn't actually see yet, like this one, whatever this one does. So there's still quite a bit that we don't know about. Because would you guys want to learn all these nodes before early access is out, or would you rather have it be like no one knows and you're going in fresh when it comes to like the skill tree and ascendancies? Because in my opinion, I think I want to know like all the ascension nodes, because it just shapes things so much that it would be like, oh, I really want to try that, right? If you didn't know that this exists, like that you could freeze time as a Chronomancer, that would be, it's fun to not know, like you're saying, but I think too it'd be like, oh, I wish I kind of, you might have a bit of regret if you don't. Yeah, that's true, Elise. Again, this is them trying to go above and beyond, but it's also taken a lot of the learnings that they had from PoE1. Because again, learning, we're talking about like mistakes. We're talking about like 10 plus years of mistakes and experience and learning and knowledge, and literally distilling that. They've appraised like all of their systems and tried to figure out, why did we actually have this in the game? And then they're trying to bring everything together now, and hopefully it lands in a good way. Because even if it doesn't land on early access, the launch, and of course the servers they're gonna be on fire probably, but that is what it is. That's just kind of how it goes. With the full launch and with it being like a free to play game, like I think it's gonna be one of the best games of like, at least it's, because it might get a full launch at the end of 2025-ish. I know Jonathan didn't want to go beyond that. Like, yeah, I don't really either, at least, but I want to. But I think we're all so excited that it's just like, and there's so much goodwill that gets built up from this, right? Where it's so much easier to handle it when they mess up, because at least because they've had misses in PoE1 for sure, and then they've course corrected, or they give out manifestos why they're making changes, literally, and why they think they might have missed the mark, and why they think that they didn't, and it's really awesome. Yes, and of course, if you guys haven't heard about Rod Ferguson's post, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. It's just really like
On the
causing
Warrior, you
people
can choose
to
between
not
the
like
Warbringer
D4
or the
as much,
Titan.
or the D. I can't. I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't have other accounts that I made, especially on Reddit, that I'm maybe a little less well mannered when it comes to posting on D4 forums. It's one of my favorite things. I'm actually really interested in this class too. Actually, yeah, look at this. This looks like a totem, because I think there's like a totems coming up this, like Elise, you pointed out too, was an hourglass. I don't know what this is though, if this is just like maybe just like a big dick or something. Like you have totems, but you also just have a massive like wiener or what. I don't know what it is. That's, oh, or no, this is war cries, isn't it? Yeah.
The Warbringer
Get
channels
your
the might of
hands
his
off my
ancestors to gain
penis.
tremendous power. Using
And then there's this. This is classic too. This monkey runs off randomly because they weren't able to refilm this piece of content.
Answered call you can
But
summon
we're
ancestral
trying to figure out
spirits
what the
linked to
monkey
each of
do.
your
We don't know yet.
totems.
It just runs off.
With Jade Heritage,
But it
you
could
can
be really
encase your
cool.
body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries.
I think that's cool. And I do want to do a
Let all
Warcry
that
build
anger
where
out.
I use voice commands for my
The
war
Titan
cries.
class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker,
All right.
every slam
Thanks,
has a chance to
Cucumber.
create an aftershock.
Thanks for joining. Looking forward to playing some with you,
crushing
man.
impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to
We're gonna have a minion army. I'm gonna be an awesome war
Take
caller.
advantage of stunned enemies
Peace.
to deal 40% more damage.
Yeah, at least one of the things I was most
As a ranger,
disappointed
you
was
might
the
choose
skill
to be a
tree in
Deadeye,
D4.
An expert markswoman who can take down foes with style.
They did make the massive
Endless
upgrade
munitions, every attack gains an extra
to it
projectile.
by adding what did they add?
With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every
One of
attack.
these.
But be
They
careful,
added like a
she
little
loses them when
a
getting
line.
hit. With Eagle Eyes, she will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy.
And they did add one new skill to each class. That was pretty.
You could become a Pathfinder. The
It's a
master
lot
of
more than
flasks
they've
and
added
poison.
since the launch.
She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock.
So
your
these
enemies.
potions look a little underwhelming, honestly, in this trailer, but they're unsupported. Everything can be supported with support skills, including like the time snaps that we saw, and the like time freeze, time snap, and temporal rift or whatever it is. So like you can juice these skills up even more, which is actually really cool. We're wondering a few days ago what the mace skill shield charges. Yeah, because did we even see it? I'll keep playing this a little
Allowing
bit
you to
more
do extra
for
damage. Contagious
for Gorb
contamination
there.
allows her to spread poisons between her foes.
Anything
while
looking good,
overwhelming
Gorb,
toxicity
to you
doubles
in
the number
terms of
stacks they can be infected by. Running Assault
these
allows
guys?
her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally
Yeah,
immune
it's
to
kind
being
of like
slowed by enemies.
how shield charge should
The
be in
Witch
like
can ascend
PoE1.
into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage.
I wonder if it's called. I'll
As
go
an
back to
Infernalist,
the
she can
skills in a
summon
sec.
Loyal Hellhound Companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit.
I was a little
With
surprised that we
Pyromantic
didn't see a
Pact, you can
Necro
turn your mana into
Ascendancy.
Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows,
But they added some
you'll take
interesting
damage.
mechanics here, and I know one of the reasons
Using
they
Bringer
didn't
of Flame,
have an
you want to
actual
make sure you keep
Necro
the
is
flame
because they
stocked
didn't
up.
want to pigeonhole
While your
people
Infernal Flame is above 30%,
towards playing
all
a
damage
minion
from
build
you and
that
your
way.
minions will ignite enemies.
But at the same time, it's kind
can
of like
also
a nice
transform into a
stereotype
literal
to
demon.
play, I think.
While in demon form, she takes an increasing amount of
I
damage.
would have liked a Necro, to be
But her
honest.
cast speed and damage
Hopefully
increase
this is
rapidly
cool
as well.
too. Because I mean, you can turn into a demon, like this, the 20% damage reducing pet that like ignites is also very nice.
So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery. She can also become a blood mage, a master of life and energy.
Yeah, these are
All
some cool
blood
ones.
mages must
And
pay the
all these
price of
classes are
making
going to get
spells
one more
cost life as
ascendancy,
well as
and the
mana.
new 6
But in
classes are
exchange,
also going to
every
get
monster
3
they
new
kill will
each.
drop
So there's
life
going to be
remedies,
20,
which allow them to
24 more
quickly gain back
ascendancies
that life.
that we get to see, which will be cool too.
With
And some of
Crimson
these will
Power,
probably
she can gain
change at
large
least a
amounts of
little bit
extra
too.
life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech
They
life
do
back as well.
rework ascendancies in
Once you've got a
PoE1
significant amount of
relatively
life,
like
you can use Gore Spike to make
every
your
other
critical
league or
hits deal
so.
incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an invoker. With elemental expression,
This is, I don't know if you guys
the invoker will
watch
create
Avatar. I
waves
don't
of
really.
elemental
I haven't
power each
watched
time
much
you go to
anime
critical strike.
besides
With
One
Fate
Punch
as a
Man for like one
choice,
season,
You gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy.
and Dragon Ball
shield.
Z, of course, back in the day. But
Choose between I am the Blizzard
These
or
guys just
I am
flipping
the Thunder
around,
to specialize in cold
hitting.
or lightning. And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar. Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain unbound
yeah, it looks
fury.
pretty fluid though.
When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal
How
way more
about
damage
how do you
and
like
inflict
Jungle
even more
Monk in
elemental
D4,
ailments.
at least?
Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The
This is
Acolyte of
interesting.
Chayula can
Acolyte of
exchange their
Chayula is kinda
mastery of
cool.
spirit for darkness,
I think so
a
too.
resource that can be
I
utilized
think
to
it's
both
probably going to
absorb
be.
and deal
I don't know what
damage.
defenses are going to be like
The Shroud
with Acolyte of Chayula. At least I know.
of Darkness will protect
go ahead
you
a little
from
bit
all
here.
damage incoming, But if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have.
Chaos damage is really
Their
strong in
Dark
PoE.
Pact offers great
So getting chaos resistance doubled is really nice because then you'll be able to cap yourself on chaos res really easy. Plus have maximum chaos resistance. But there is the keystone that sets your health to 1 and it gives you immunity to chaos damage in the first place. So there is another way you can kind of work around that. But then you need to get a lot of energy shield.
greatly increased resistance to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only
You can use something like Eldritch Battery, which is a keystone node that's converts your... Oh no, that wouldn't work with this. It converts your energy shield into mana. And then you can get a keystone that lets damage come from your mana first, but then you can instant mana leech it back. So you wouldn't take the Chaos Inoculation, but there are some things you can do with mana leeching, converting your energy shield to protect your mana, and then using your mana as like a defense mechanism, and then mana leeching it back. These are the kind of interactions that are like crazy, and these are they're a bit harder maybe unless you're reading a build guide, because you might not think of those things. But so Staves gives you a free casting general attack. There are more weapon skills than there are skills on the Necromancer in D4. Poor D4 Necromancer. Getting 19 skills, I think, and all the other classes had like low to mid 20s in them or something like that. And now there's more weapon skills in this, which are all the weapon skills too. I don't know if this was mentioned to you, Gorb, was all weapon skills that you get are also supportable with support gems, so they can get stronger. And all weapon support gems, I believe, are 0 mana cost. Yeah, they do look pretty neglected.
their energy shield as well.
I think they need. I also think they need to.
Which allows you to see into the domain of the breach demons.
I think they should redo masteries in D4 to be more like ascendancies.
Taken to gain life, mana, and damage.
To be more interesting.
The mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you?
Which?
You might choose to become a witch hunter.
Witch hunter.
Obsessive rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange
I
for
wonder
less
how strong
defense
this will be.
attacks.
Like 50% less armor evasion is a lot. Unless you can you're converting, you're just scaling defenses in a different way. That might be a way to get around it. My understanding too is that the rest of the nodes are known, but this, I think it makes it like 50% more, 50% stronger for your sorcery reward. I don't remember the other one. I don't know if you know it too, Elise, or what, but yeah, like yeah, I just love their influence on this stuff. Like, they're not afraid to hide it. They just go with it and be like, that would be cool. With the Ranger, they wanted Legolas. They said it in different interviews and stuff, and they just go for it, and they just try and embody that gameplay. It's like Van Helsing pod player. This is also really strong too, Zealous Inquisition. Anytime something explodes on death is amazing for clear speed. And Gorbia, if you've never played PoE 1, when you can just be clearing big time, especially when you start getting into higher density stuff with like your Delirium and your Breach stuff, yeah, being able to explode on death is amazing for clear. It feels good, and it often sounds really good too. The sound design in this game is absolutely incredible too. It's going to be awesome. It's going to sound really nice. What do you listen to normally, Gorb, for audio? Because you clearly have a lot of really good hardware. But what's it like? What kind of like headphones do you use for that? Chance is doubled against undead demons. It's funny with that because that's just flavor there. Your chance of like running into undead demons. Actually, you know what? Demons. Oh wait. So there's also the Beyond mechanic. That I think only comes from corruption. I don't think they talk about it in this. I don't know if they talk about it. But if you kill monsters near each other, they drop like... If you kill monsters around each other, they have a chance of becoming demons, basically. Like summoning demons into the world, basically. And this would actually be really solid for if you're doing anything that involves Beyond. In PoE 1, there was a Beyond mechanic called the Blood Crucible, where it would fill up over time, and you would press V, and it would shift you into like a blood dimension of that world. And then you would your blood gauge would start depleting, and you just like fight demons, and then you'd shift back to like your regular reality. And it was actually really cool. I really liked it, but they didn't keep that mechanic in. It was weird. Sennheiser, yeah, those are classic. And DAC, I don't know those ones, but
percent chance to explode on death.
That's
the
cool.
Chances
Though.
doubled against
Yeah. Anyway,
demons and undead. With judge, jury,
good
and
headphones and good sound is really good for PoE2.
Of their life and damage, if you're
This is crazy too. Look at that. This is one hit from this node, and this is an early node. Being able to do up to 30% damage in one hit. That's also kind of crazy for party play, and I don't know if there's maybe some way to help mitigate that a little bit. Because if you have someone who's just like doing like 30%, and then they also get Culling Strike on this tree, which lets you execute, I think it's 5% on unique bosses, if I'm not mistaken, for Culling Strike. With regular normal mobs, I think the cull range is like 30%, and Elise, I don't know if you know those cutoffs or anything too. And then rares is something different. I don't know if it's like 10% or something. So Culling Strike's good for bosses though, but this is crazy to just chunk off. And if you guys didn't see this, there is a damage numbers here at the top, which is Elden Ring inspired, I think. Yeah, I think so too.
This is great for hunting powerful bosses.
And we don't even have like the aura classes yet. I think there's going to be like aura paladin or something at least one time.
You could also choose to become a gemling legionnaire.
This is an interesting Ascendancy too.
Directly in your flesh. Integrated efficiency will give you extra skill slots.
3 skill slots. Maximum resistances are really powerful in PoE1 because part of it, when you consider that your resistances are like normally capped at 75%, and a lot of the like boss skills and skills in the game are balanced around you being capped on resistance, that if you take like a 5,000 damage or like a 1,000 damage spell hit, but then you get 5% like maximum resistance, then you're taking basically like what, 20% less damage. Am I doing my math right? Yeah, because then you have 80%. Going from 75 to 80% means you're taking like 20% less damage then from that spell. If it's tuned to 1,000, then you're only taking 800, which it makes a big deal. It basically increases in value the closer you get. Someone was telling me the math of that. I don't math too often. I do like my poker. I'm a GTO poker player, but beyond that and math and stats, I don't know too much about it.
Maximum resistances as you sock up more and more support gems. Adaptive capability allows you to use any color of gem.
Ignoring attribute requirements, always fun.
While crystalline potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed.
Not allowed to play poker with friends. Is that because you lost money or because your skill advantage is so high that it's not fair to your friends?
Into your character.
Quality to skill gems. They don't really talk about quality and the importance of quality yet, but quality used to be pretty impactful. Nice, yeah. I was something close. I think I won. I was at my bachelor party, and it was a $50 buy-in per person, and I ended up winning that. And that bankrolled me into playing like lower stakes. And I don't know. I have like a couple thousand hours studying poker. I enjoy poker a lot. It's just very grindy. Usually, if you're just a long-term cash player, or if your tournament's a bit different. But quality skill gems. But this guy thematically too. Look at him embedding gems into his face. So we see one in his arm, you see one in his arm there, one in the arm there. I don't know where the other gems are. I'm assuming, I mean, if you guys could embed a gem in yourself, would you embed a gem to give yourself like maybe more like sexual prowess, let's say, or that sort of thing? Anyway, I love the art though. It's very thematically weird. There's also, I think in the Val culture in PoE, well, you'll probably see it a bit more in PoE too, but embedding gems in your flesh like basically makes you go like crazy over time. So I think this is really interesting of a build. of a concept.
So those are the ascendancy classes for the start of early access. But one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place.
Which I think we have reviewed other than that. Probably since like 13 years old. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a fun game. Very roller coastery though, very grindy. And it's not glamorous. One of the things with poker is that it doesn't really contribute, you know, in anything. You're basically just trying to win money off people who are worse than you. It's fun though, and it can be very social. I really like Poker Stars VR. No problem. And on that note, actually, my friends, I need to go to bed because my wife is messaging me that our toddler is she needs a tag out because my toddler is struggling. So I'm gonna have to go then and be a good husband. But yeah, if you haven't for whatever reason, feel free to drop a follow. Hopefully, hoping to stream a bit. Nice to meet you too, Gorb. You might see more of me. I'm looking to actually play a bit with Mind Control, be the first Mind Control PoE player. Partly because I work with people. I'm an occupational therapist and I work with people with disabilities. And I really want to start up like an adaptive gaming program kind of more in my city and in my area. And I want to use different adaptive equipment to actually get experience using it so I can recommend it to people and hopefully get other people that maybe weren't able to play like PoE. Oh, that's awesome. There you go. Well, it's fate then, I guess, Gorb. Yeah, no, I'm I'm really interested in helping people play PoE that maybe can't because of the cerebral palsy or an acquired injury. Guys, if we're playing this game for the next decade, we're gonna have things like repetitive stress injury. We're gonna have cognitive stuff happen, like motion sickness. There's all these little things that maybe they need to address with some of the accessibility settings. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm interested in the alternative setups that way. So I have like eye gaze, head tracking, facial gestures, voice activation. Just got Mind Control after seeing Perry Cargill beat Elden Ring with like Mind Control. I'm like, that's awesome. And some of the rehab hospitals here use that for like wheelchair access. Yeah. Anyway, it's that's one way I'm hoping to be a little bit unique because I'm not going to be good as people like Ben, who's a really good. He was like world #1 in Diablo 4, world #1 in like in PoE normally with races, but you know, you can all find your way to do that too. So hopefully get some more people playing this game because I think it's going to be really awesome. Yeah, he's very very skilled. Yeah, it's interesting to see why he's a magnitude better than the next. Is he really? Oh wow, I'm not surprised to hear that because I'm pretty sure he's good at. Again, it's when you have someone who's magnitude higher than other people, it's kind of like, why is that, right? Beyond that, yeah, I had some other warrior gameplay to go through that I was going to go through, but I'm going to go help my wife. I believe that. Yeah, super excited for this. Yeah, nice talking to you. And Harley, I see you too. Hopefully everything goes okay with your PlayStation launch. And yeah, feel free to look for me in coming days. I might try and start at like 9 or 10 some days, like a few times a week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing how your league start goes, especially now that you have a key, Gorb. So, and shout out to your mom in a very amicable way. Yeah, you too. Take care, guys. No problem. Thanks for watching. Peace.